Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed, lab-proven to work fast, and proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
If you've been thinking about getting serious with your money, like actually serious, now's the time. The Motley Fool is offering new members 50% off their iconic stock recommendation service, Stock Advisor. This is the same service that's crushed the market with recommendations that have returned 1,057% since inception, compared to the S&P 500's 180% over that same period. This isn't guesswork. The Motley Fool has a track record of finding companies before they become household names. So if you want to invest smarter and you like saving money while doing it, go to Fool.com/listen to claim your 50% off discount off a 1-year term of Stock Advisor. Again, that's Fool.com/listen. Returns of 1,057% are from the Motley Fool's product Stock Advisor and measured against S&P 500 returns of 180% as of July 10th, 2025. Past performance is not an indicator of future results. All investing involves a risk of loss. Individual investment results may vary.
Who disrupts my coronation?
Everyone has been destroyed because of this freak. I won't allow it! These babies just saved this lame best party!
What's going on? You are listening to This Week in Geek.net, and I'm your host, Mike the Birdman, and welcome to the fall season of This Week in Geek. But I'm not alone on this rainy September afternoon. I'm joined by my brother, my compatriot, the guy who makes sure everything works in his household, the website, and mine.
Alex, the producer, and I hope things work is what I do. I make sure that they don't fall apart. That's probably the best way to describe it.
That's true. I mean, over the summer, you did manage to build me a new computer, a microcomputer, which honestly, I kind of dig, to be honest with you. It's taken a little getting used to, but now I'm in Windows 11. I'm doing all sorts of things. I've got all my Razer RGB shit hooked up to it, all my hard drives, and it's so much cooler in my apartment. It's not like a constant heat source being
legitimately like 5 degrees cooler.
Oh,
just from going from a big honkin' old tower that was, a gas guzzler essentially, down to a computer that uses, less than 100 watts.
Yeah, it's kind of like I went from like a big diesel truck to like a smart car. So
yeah,
it's kind of weird.
You went from roughly, and not just the heat and power, but you went from something that was using it on average about 600 watts of power to something that's using about 60.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, and just it's so nice. I can actually game on this thing. I got multiple game controllers hooked up to it now, so I'm like, this is cool. I can actually use my computer like it's meant to be.
I mean, indie 2D and like lower end stuff because it's integrated video, but like that's come a long way in 6 years, buddy.
Yeah, like it's it's pretty cool. So yeah, guys, we are back for our first episode of the new fall season. We took the summer off. We were supposed to come back last week, but I had some pretty significant dental problems over the last couple weeks of summer, which delayed us coming back. I got multiple fillings. I had a tooth pulled, and I knew that toothaches were like nothing to fuck around with. I did not know the extent of how painful that would be. I was crawling in my skin dealing with the pain. I was like eating Oragel. But
you were like 2 seconds away from grabbing pliers and doing it yourself.
Yeah, it was so, and let me tell you, that is a sound you never forget. When they pull a tooth out of your head, when you hear the crunch and the snap, I'm like, oh, I know that sound. That's from Mortal Kombat. That's disgusting.
Dude, and not to freak out people, but if anybody needs to have like knee or hip replacements, you know, I've mentioned on the recordings that I was helping my mom out because she had her knee replaced. She's going to have another one, which she says, like the other knee, probably next year because she doesn't want to do it anytime soon. What they don't tell you, and it's on purpose, they don't tell you what it's going to be like because generally you're awake while they do it. They give you a local, you don't feel anything. They put like a sheet between where your vision is and your knees.
Mm-hmm.
They smash you with a mallet, like a hammer.
Oh God.
It's like a sledgehammer, like straight up horror movie. And you don't feel anything, she goes, but you hear a horrifying crunch and pop, and it's while they smash your kneecap off.
Jesus.
That's not a weird case of what they had to do for her. That's what they always do.
Jeez.
And because that's how they get it off. And then they, when they put the new knee in, they end up having to manually attach the muscles and tendons and everything. And that's what makes it an hour and a half surgery. The actual removal of the kneecap to fix it is the quickest part because they just smash with a goddamn hammer.
Oh my God, that's brutal.
And afterwards, she talked. She's like, I heard that like through my whole body. You don't just hear it in your ears. You hear it in your skull, like it's reverberating. And she goes, and then the nurse afterwards, that when she was post-op, is like, yeah, that's why, you know, internally, and you can probably ask your sister-in-law, they refer to knee and hip surgeons as carpenters.
Jeez, that's wild.
That's like a loving joke in there, in that, yeah, because they're the ones that smash things with hammers. Well, I mean, you've I don't know if you've seen it or any of our listeners have seen it, but like I took kinesiology and health class in grade 12 because I wanted to get out of a gym class because of my fat ass. But in it, we had to watch. We had to watch like childbirth and that. It's like, okay, you know, facts of life. And then we had to watch open heart surgery, and they use basically everything you think of from a horror movie to saw out your rib cage and remove your rib cage entirely. How else are you going to get to the heart? You don't think about those things till you see it, right? Yeah, they do. It's like something out of a cartoon or a horror. They just remove the rib cage, get to the heart, do what they have to do their, you know, heart transplant or valve replacements, and then they sew you back up and they put like wire and caging in there to help it heal. So, yeah, it's not fun. But it's also interesting. And when you think about it, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. It's just you don't really think about it till you have to go through it. So believe me, dude, if I can imagine how it sounds having a tooth pulled. I haven't had one, but I can imagine how it sounds, and just imagine how it sounds when you're having your knee smashed with a hammer.
Gross.
So that's basically why she's like, why can't I walk for 7 weeks downstairs? They don't want me to. It's like, well, you had somebody hit you with a sledgehammer.
Yeah, no shit, So yeah, guys, we are, like I said, we are back. We've had a lot of interesting times over the summer, and I guess just to kind of give you a very quick overview of what I did during the summer, I actually got a chance to work for the University of Guelph. I was a podcast camp counselor, which was really cool. I was working with kids from ages 8 to 12, teaching them to podcast. I had 4 days with them over the course. I had 2 classes, so I had 10 kids over the course of 2 weeks. So week 1 and week 2, a lot of fun. Some of these kids tremendously talented. There was one kid, I wish I could remember their name off the top of my head, but either way, this kid was so talented, Alex. I would have trusted him to edit our show. He picked up on shit so fast, and this kid was like 9. I
Which,
met with
you
this.
know, is
Yeah.
a rarity in the days of everybody wanting to be on screen as like a video, YouTube, TikTok, whatever star. Having somebody that interested in the audio end is really cool.
Yeah, like I actually had a chance to speak with the kid's parents, and I said to the mom, I'm like, don't let this kid stop. He has a real talent, a real gift. And I heard them just as they were walking away, and the mom was like, did you hear that? You've got a talent. And I was like, that is so awesome. And then this other parent during the second week, the mom and dad came up to me and they're like, our kid just came back from a camp where all they did was play Minecraft, and he's normally very introverted, but all he could do was talk about you the entire week.
Well,
He had
that's cool.
such a good time. Yeah, I was like, man, working with kids is awesome. Like, I had such a good time.
Also, that's depressing.
If you've been thinking about getting serious with your money, like actually serious, now's the time. The Motley Fool is offering new members 50% off their iconic stock recommendation service, Stock Advisor. This is the same service that's crushed the market with recommendations that have returned 1,057% since inception, compared to the S&P 500's 180% over that same period. This isn't guesswork. The Motley Fool has a track record of finding companies before they become household names. So if you want to invest smarter and you like saving money while doing it, go to fool.com/listen to claim your 50% off discount off a 1-year term of Stock Advisor. Again, that's fool.com/listen. Returns of 1,057% are from the Motley Fool's product Stock Advisor and measured against S&P 500 returns of 180% as of July 10th, 2025. Past performance is not an indicator of future results. All investing involves a risk of loss. Individual investment results may vary.
That like summer camp is playing Minecraft and like Roblox. Even day camp. Like I remember day camp was different. Day camp was like you do, you go to the gymnasium at the community center or the school. You play a bunch of sports and games. You learn how to make a couple snacks together. Maybe you learn how to bake like Rice Krispie squares or bake some cookies, and then you do stuff like that, right? It's to wear you out for the day. But like I've seen that more and more, like, you know, computer camp or chess camp. I get that. Back in the day, you would get sent to that, and it was something that this just sounds like a paid babysitter.
Yeah, like these kids were really, really well behaved. There were some behavioral problems in some of the other groups. My group was well disciplined. They were well behaved. I actually remember one of the other, some other person that I was working with. It's like, Mike, how do you keep your group so disciplined? Like, treat them like adults.
And carry a big stick. No.
And it was wild. Like, well, I taught them the TWIG way. I was like, you're going to learn to do it how me and my brother do it. We're going to tell you, you're live to tape. If you screw up, wait 5 seconds, try again. If you don't like it, we can take 5 minutes, but I want you to try to get used to doing this live to tape, because that you may not always get a chance to go back and edit. I taught them how I edit. The one kid who was the really sharp editor, he was doing tricks that I didn't learn until first year radio school. Honestly, that one kid would have passed first year radio, no problem.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really awesome. And then
you know what? That is potentially a viable career, even if you don't want to necessarily be on camera. There's plenty of people on YouTube and media that need editors.
Yeah, it's seriously a really good side hustle. Other than that, my buddy Sharuk, that goes to the Storm games with me, had a chance to rent a wheelchair van, and I got a chance to go visit my old hometown, and I got a chance to go to Sauble Beach, which I almost got on the beach because they have those wheelchair accessible beach mats. But they didn't go all the way to the pavement. So I missed going on the beach by literally 4 inches. That sucked. But I had a chance to go to the boardwalk, play a bunch of arcade games. I watch a YouTuber named Arcade Matt, shout out. And he taught me how to win at claw games. I swept the boardwalk on $20. I must have walked out with a shit ton of stuff. I'm thinking, that's right, I know how to do this trick now. And it was awesome. So I won Sharuk a bunch of stuffies. And then I've only been for literally 2 seconds. I had the chance to go to the C&E for the first time ever. And it was really fun. It was a very long day, but it was really cool.
I haven't been in, it's probably almost 20 years now. But like we used to go regularly because family's all in the Toronto area. But also because my uncle worked for the Toronto Star, like not as a paper boy, worked in the office. He was always getting free passes because they used to give. I don't know if you remember that they used to give them away in the paper. Or for kids, remember at the end of the year, sometimes you get like a free baseball game or something from the Toronto Star. Like some teachers would do that, and be like, "Hey, if everybody gets their final assignments in on time, and you do, get like a B plus or whatever, here's some free tickets." It's because Toronto Star used to give up free tickets for Jays games and for the C&E like nothing. Well, we used to go, and for anybody that's from the Toronto area that may be listening, you'll remember how there were certain concessions and certain food vendors that have been there since like the 1800s. There's a place where you could get spaghetti, and it was always a quarter.
I know exactly where that place is. There was a booth that was selling $2 spaghetti.
And it's gone up. It was subsidized by the government for like 100 years. And then sometime about 15, 20 years ago, they stopped the subsidy and it went from 25 cents to $1. And then I heard it just kept creeping up. But it was literally like you would get, even in the 90s, what would be equivalent to like $2 worth of food for a quarter.
Yeah.
It was a little tiny cup of spaghetti, not a lot, but like enough that like a toddler would be completely happy. But the idea was you would go and you would sample a few small things, and you could get that. You could go to Tiny Tom Donuts and get like 2 or 3 little donuts for 25 cents. And you could go there's Tiny Tom, the spaghetti place. There was I forget, there's a couple other places where you could get like a little slice of pizza or like a little hot dog, and for like $3 you could get like a huge plate of different things. And obviously now with food prices the way they are and inflation, you're not going to be getting, like, it's going to be $3 or $4 for pizza. It's going to be $3 or $4 for this and that. Now they're not at like state fair levels, even though it is technically like our equivalent of a state fair. They haven't gone nuts from what I hear. Like I'm not hearing about like $12 waters coming out of there or anything.
No, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean,
do they still do the Coca-Cola around the neck? When I
not
was there,
that I saw. Not that
used
I
to
saw.
be you get like like those what's it, the flask that like the Saint Bernard dogs carry around?
Yeah, I had something like that when I was in Las Vegas like years back.
Yeah, they used to do that. It's like a liter or 2 liters of cola in a plastic Coca-Cola branded thing. Usually had like C&E, whatever year was on it, and it had straps, and you'd wear it around your neck so you'd have your hands free while you were walking around going through the C&E. And that used to be like you pay like $1 or $2 for your whatever your pop is. But if you paid like $3 or $4, you'd get that thing around your neck, and it usually came with a free refill that they would like stamp your hand for.
Yeah, the big thing this year was dirty sodas. I had a butter beer where they literally put butter in root beer.
Oh, they're making it
good.
They're Americanizing the event.
Oh, dude, it was so wild. Although the coolest thing I had was they'd hollow out a pineapple, or it could be whatever you wanted, and they'd fill that, and you got 1 free refill as long as you tagged them on social media. And that was really cool.
Are they still selling like potpourri and lavender everywhere?
Yep. It was very weird.
Do you know why that is?
Cool, though. Why?
Here's a little fun fact for you. What did the C&E start as?
A farm show?
Horse show. And livestock, where they would auction off livestock, and they'd have other events. So the reason the lavender goes back like 150 years or more, because it was the only smell that could cover up the shit. That's not a joke. It was there to cover up the fact that there were going to be like 10,000 horses there. You know what I mean? So you had to have something, and then it just sort of stuck there. And basically, all throughout the C&E, there'd be these little vendors where they're offering for like $1, potpourri or lavender, and it's like, oh, nice flowers. Everybody now thinks that, oh, C&E has all these nice smelling, potpourri stuff. It's like, yeah, it had to be there back in the day.
Yeah, I saw a lot of unique vendors. I didn't buy it. I bought some Pokemon plushies for Blair. Oddly enough, I don't think I saw a single video game vendor.
Yeah.
I went to the Nintendo booth. I competed in the Mario Kart World event.
Okay.
I
neat.
literally missed placing by 8 seconds because I took a turn wrong and I slid off a ramp. But they were surprisingly accessible with that. I got to see some really cool llamas. I got to see some
There
really
used to
cool
be-
stuff.
I mean, years ago when Maple Leaf Gardens was still a big thing,
Mhm.
there used to be like WWF wrestling every
Yep.
summer.
At the Rico,
Um,
that's where I used to go.
And it was, yeah, it's been, changed its name many times, right?
Mhm.
But that was, back in and it used to be free. Like they would do, like, not just they do the Rico or what, I don't even think it's called the Rico anymore. It's a Coca-Cola or something.
Or some shit like
Um,
that, yeah.
I think it's Coke Center, maybe. Whatever. It changes its name, but for years and years and years, it was like the C&E Arena, and then there was Maple Leaf Gardens was part of that whole thing too. But they would do an event there, but they used to actually sometimes set up rings like in the open.
There was one there, but there wasn't nothing going on at that time
Yeah.
of day.
And that would be probably an indie. One of the local indies would be putting that on. But back in the day, they
Greek,
would have.
I think it was Greek Town Wrestling. I think
Yeah,
was the people doing it. Yeah.
they do a lot of local events. I think at least probably monthly. I would say maybe more.
I think
And
so.
they'll have people from AEW and other people show up. But like again, back in the day, the city or the province would pay the WWF to be like, hey, put on one of your events, and they'd have Hulk Hogan or somebody show up, and they would do a thing at the C&E, and then at one of the convention buildings, they would have all the video games, basically E3, but at the C&E. So
Yeah.
we would have booths of everything that you saw at E3, or that would show up at like a more modern like Gamescom or whatever. They
Mhm.
would have all that stuff on display, and a whole building of just all the new arcade games, all the cabs that weren't going to be out for like 6 months or a year. They would do tests. They would grab like 100 new games and test them there, all free play, and you'd have lineups to wait just to play an arcade game that, I was there in like 1993 or 4 that wouldn't come out till like 94 or 95.
Yeah, I saw there was a bunch of video games. I didn't really hang around because I had my sister Sharuk and I had Blair there.
Yeah.
But
And it's not the same anymore. But still,
Yeah.
like that's an idea. So now that you've been there, you get to see sort of the layout doesn't change that much, but you can figure in your head, whoa, one of those big buildings that's probably now showing off cars or something. 'Cause,
yeah,
that was where the arcade would be, and then you'd have there's other building would have this going on. A lot of it does sort of stay the same, but like I don't know what the feel is like. Was it packed like crazy?
it wasn't bad. I mean, I never felt crowded. And even during when I went into the food building to grab lunch, I had a shrimp po' boy, which was really good. And I don't know, like it felt good. It felt busy, but I didn't feel like I was overly crowded. I don't know whether I'd go back yearly. Maybe every couple years I'd go back, because obviously I've had the stomach surgery, and the main reason you go to the CNE is for all the weird food. I did try the deep fried pizza, which was from Pizza Pizza this year. It was fine. The butterbeer was pretty good. Don't know if I'd pay what I paid for it again. I think I paid $10. And I had something else. I had like a dessert, but it was just like, this is fine. This is all
You might be better off at one point planning to go to like Winterfest instead.
Yeah, like I said, it was fun. It was cool. I'm glad I went, but see you in 5 years, sort of thing. And then I guess lastly for my summer, what else did I do? I was supposed to do more recording than what I wanted to do this summer, so I'm going to do some of that during the winter time. But I did record a bunch with Ken, Alex, Dave, and those guys. JT's coming back to the show. I'm sending him some headphones. We finally got his audio problem solved. And I played a bunch of games during the summer. I didn't get a chance to play Persona and Final Fantasy like I wanted to, but I went back and played some games that I didn't get a chance to beat for like a really long time. And the one game I bought for myself this summer, because we didn't get it for a review, is I went back and played Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta. So I bought that. That was a really good time. I'm really glad that I did that. And in preparation for the Mortal Kombat collection, I started going back through the new timeline. So I played Mortal Kombat 9, I played Mortal Kombat X, I'm going through Mortal Kombat 11. And if everything goes out right, I should be done Mortal Kombat 1 and Chaos Reigns in like a week or two. And I also played Injustice, Gods Among Us 1 and 2. And as a treat to myself, I started watching Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which I really like. And I started watching all the DCU animated movies I could get my hands on. There's a lot. I think I've seen like 6. So I've got like 90 more to go. I wish I was kidding when I said that. So that was my summer. What did you do?
The last end of the summer was basically going back and forth helping my mom. Basically, I was a live-in help for 2.5 weeks. But beyond that, it's been mostly catching up on review stuff, because some of the larger games that took a longer time were sent over the summer. There's still a few that I've got the reviews ready, but we can't talk about yet. So there's that. And beyond that, it was much more of a restful summer, or trying to be that much, because the last few years has been pretty stressful. Different summers, just both between family and website stuff. So it was nice to sort of have a bit of a break, to have a proper actual break. So I prepped stuff ahead of time. I edited like 25 weeks of Earth versus Soups, and then have slowly got them scheduled to come out. And we sort of staggered out our releases. We wanted to have, like you said, more and more recorded and coming out, but it came down to, you know what, as long as we have 1 or 2 things per week, I think we're good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like this summer, like we were gonna do Lord of the Rings between me and the boys, but it just got so overwhelming. And normally we'd only take a month off during the summer, and I'd take over August. I really think us taking 2 months off, because we recorded so much in advance, I actually felt like we got a proper vacation this year.
For the most part, yeah.
And it really felt like I feel like we're coming back actually recharged for a change.
I basically, outside of like getting reviews recorded, because we made sure that we still had review shows coming out, but that was mostly here's the reviews we've got, and I just only have to spend about 10 minutes recording intros and outros, and then the maintenance of making sure that the actual episodes come out properly. That was it. So went from probably 20 hours a week of work down to like 1.
Yeah. Like I recorded a bunch of stuff with like the boys. We recorded a bunch of stuff for Halloween, a bunch of cool evergreen episodes. I don't know when you ever put those out, so I hope I don't refer to something in May and it comes out in November.
They come out when they come out.
Yeah, basically. So now I'm learning to relearn the mystical art of radio. So don't refer to current events. But I saw a lot of really good movies.
Don't refer to, like, if it's not a live news show, we don't talk about live news.
Yeah. But yeah, I got a chance to watch a lot of really good stuff over the summer too. I went to the movies a lot this summer, which was kind of nice. As of this recording, I just saw The Long Walk. I'm sure that'll come up in one of our loose cannon episodes. My short review of it is it's good. Mark Hamill's weirdly distracting, but he's not bad. Like, don't get me wrong, but it's weird. Like, you don't need to be here, but you are. And don't see it with a friend if they can't be serious, because it will ruin it for you. Other than that, it was fine. I also saw Weapons. I saw Toxic Avenger.
Me too.
I think I saw mostly everything. I think I saw everything that came out this summer that was major. The only thing I didn't get a chance to see in theaters was The Bad Guys 2 Together. And yeah, everything else I saw. And Conjuring 4 sucks. I didn't like it.
Did you see the racing movie? That was actually pretty good.
F1, no, I didn't get a chance to see F1. I think I might have it on VOD. I don't know whether I bought it or
it's out. I think it's out. Did you see Naked Gun?
Yes, I liked it, but I didn't love it. But my expectations for that movie were stupid high because Naked Gun was my comfort movie growing up because I was a Leslie Nielsen and Zuckerberg kid. Or Zucker, sorry, not Zuckerberg. Fuck that guy. Because I used to watch Showtime up in Canada. And it used to be Naked Gun 2 would get played a shit ton. And same with Naked Gun 33 and a third. And I saw almost every Naked Gun movie in theaters except for the first one. So I was really excited for it. And I had fun. I think Liam Neeson is a wonderful comedic actor. And Pam Anderson, surprisingly funny when you let her go.
She had that bit of a comeback with The Last Showgirl, which, got indie buzz. And they're like, oh, she can act. And then they're like, oh, no, she actually gets it. Like, she got the comedy probably more than some of the other people in the movie.
Yeah, like, it's funny. It's totally worth seeing. The credits are surprisingly funny, too. If you stick around and read them, they're really funny. So yeah, I mean, ultimately worth seeing. Like I said, it was a pretty good summer for movies. I didn't see Jurassic Park in theaters just because I was just in a bit of a fucking
that
mood.
Movie sucked.
Yeah, not fucking
that
surprised.
Movie blew bad. My parents enjoyed it because they both wanted to see it, and I was like, "You sure? I'll take you both to see it." And sat down. They're like, "This was great." And after I left, I'm like, "This wasn't that great." But I didn't want to say anything to ruin their mood. And then after like a half hour, they started talking to like, "Wait, why did this happen?" And I'm like, "Because they're dumb." That was the only way to describe it is because the person who wrote it is dumb.
I also didn't see Mission Impossible in theaters as well, just because again I was busy with something. I know I saw some horror movies this summer, but yeah,
Mission Impossible is like 3 hours long.
Yeah, so ain't nobody got time for that. Speaking of ain't nobody got time for that, we have been talking for quite some time. We have a very packed show for you to talk to. Not gonna lie, our first news story is gonna be a little bit heavy, but after that, we're hopefully gonna bring up the mood, but it's something that has to be talked about. And yeah, so we're gonna talk about that. Don't worry, guys, it's not about that guy in the media, and that's all I'm saying about it. But I do have some personal memories with this. So anyway, guys, we're going to take a small break here on This Week in Geek, and we're going to do one of Alex's reviews right here. And when we come back, we'll talk to you about what happened in the world of geek entertainment and beyond right here on thisweekingeek.net. I've been Mike the Birdman. He's been Alex the producer. We'll be back, guys, right after this.
GungHo! Falcom!
The airliner Lint has gone missing.
There will come a time when she has to choose her own path.
Gotta hurry and bring Dad back.
Estelle, look out!
It's not my style to just sit and wait.
There's no doubt that something is stirring.
There are forces in this world that your eyes cannot see.
Joe, watch out!
The shining new dawn of our beloved liberal is near at hand.
All right, Joshua, let's do this.
I thought you'd put up more of a fight.
Get your filthy hands away from Estelle!
As long as we're there to support one another, we can overcome anything. Orbital energy at 30% charge. Let me fight alongside you.
Reverberate!
Go ahead and try to defeat me.
Don't ever underestimate a bracer.
Alex, the producer here, and I have been waiting a while for this game, and that is Trails in the Sky First Chapter. Our friends at GungHo Online Entertainment sent a review copy for PlayStation 5 for me to check out. I have been covering the Trails series for This Week in Geek since I joined the podcast. What was it, 8 years ago now? I had played Trails in the Sky. No, sorry. I had played Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2 before I joined the show on my own, as I was a big fan of JRPGs, and it was the end of the PS3's life cycle, and yada yada yada. They came with cool boxes at that time from with whatever publisher had it, and I was happy with it. And I didn't know that it was part of a larger series. I eventually went back and found that Trails in the Sky had three games that were released previously. If you go through the history, I've talked about it on other reviews, that it's a long, gigantic epic, probably the longest epic and multi-game story, interwoven characters from multiple conflicts and countries and on this continent. And it's like watching a multi-year Game of Thrones style epic from all these different angles, with the comedy and lightheartedness and family and friendship will conquer all attitude that a lot of anime and shonen type shows have. This is the first time I've had a chance to really dig into the Trails in the Sky series. The characters from it had popped up in I guess my previous experiences, but the later games, and I sort of pieced together bits and pieces of the story from that, because this is the earliest point in this long epic. Now, the reason for that had been that when it came out here, and it came out on PSP, and then eventually it went to PC, the original versions were, I think, from the late 90s, or early, I think, and they were eventually ported to PSP. That's the idea. They felt real dated, even on PSP, and there was a whole hubbub. If you want to look up something really interesting online, look up the localization effort of Trails in the Sky when it first came out, the very first version of this in North America. There was so much dialogue to translate, and it was like endless, miles of text, and the effort there is amazing. And I feel bad saying it, but it was so difficult for me to try to get through even the first few hours of that version, because there was so much reading. There wasn't like a fast forward mode. The combat felt a little dated, especially when you played the more modern games from Cold Steel onward that used a new combat style, a new graphical engine. It was much more of a modern feel and flow, and those eventually slowly evolved on each other, going into the Trails into Daybreak series, the most modern ones that are running right now, where they actually incorporated the ability to do action combat if you wanted to go quickly out of battle, and then if you had to do a more difficult battle or a boss battle, you would go into command battle. And that's where other companies have started to copycat that. Even, dare I say, Metaphor ReFantazio had a similar style, but that really was started first in the Trails games. Now, because of that, I was like, I want to eventually go back and play it. And then they announced, was it a year ago maybe? They announced Trails in the Sky first chapter as a complete, reimagining remake. In the modern graphic style, in the modern engine that you see in like Daybreak, with fully voice acted in English, which is a big plus, because the amount of dialogue and stuff going on in this game, it's a lot easier when you're fully immersed listening to it. And then, an overhauled script. They've touched things up. It's mostly following the same storyline, but also the game is going to feel shorter. The original game, everybody kept telling me, was somewhere between 80 and 120 hours. And that was because there was a lot of reading, there was a lot of grinding, it was a slower moving game. And in this, I was able to play it in a significantly less time. I'm not going to say exactly how long, because I don't want to give people an idea necessarily of like, oh, I'm at the end already, because your experience will vary, because you can change the difficulty. There's multiple difficulty levels in this game. Also, if you beat it, you can carry forward and do a new game plus and carry certain things forward, change the difficulties. There's a lot of customizations you can do. But I will say this, the game moves at a much brisker pace. There's the ability to fast forward and do like fast mode like you have in the other more modern Trails games. So you can do like mob fighting and grinding a lot quicker. You see obviously all the enemies on screen before you initiate attacks with them in combat. If you've played or listened to my reviews and played in the other Trails games, this is finally bringing that up to the standard that we're used to, that we've been used to the last 10 to 15 years. We're finally there now. And it makes me very happy, because I had a great time. If I have to make any, little cons or complaints or anything. It's the voice acting is pretty good. I felt for some reason that the voice acting was better in the other more recent Trails games. I don't know if it was a different crew they were using or anything, but I only made this note in my little notebook once, but it was some of the characters, when they're pronouncing other characters' names, they sometimes say the names wrong. And I don't mean that, like, you know, oh, from game to game, somebody might have a different pronunciation or something. It can happen. But I'm saying that the same character will refer to another character that they've talked to many times, and they'll say that person's name differently multiple times within the same recording session. And that's stuff that I think that there might have been some quality control issues when it comes to the voice directing that wasn't caught. It ultimately doesn't really affect the game as a whole. It was just there is a little bit of sloppy audio, like it's a little bit lazy when it comes to that. Now there's an immense amount of dialogue that they had to record. So I'm not downplaying. I don't want to denigrate or say anything bad about the voice actors. Just that there seemed to be a little bit of quality control issues when it comes to the English voice acting. And it is something that you want to listen to because the whole series does have a good script and good voice acting. And overall, once you get over some of that name pronunciations, most of the characters' line delivery is pretty good. If ever occasionally it feels a little off. And I normally wouldn't have noticed it, except that in all of the other games in the franchise, that's not an issue. It's always been good. So maybe it's something that if they continue on with this, they'll have to look into. Maybe, I don't think it's something you can fix now, but it was noticeable enough to me that I actually wrote it down, that this was happening a fair bit, that characters were pronouncing other characters' names sporadically different. Like there wasn't a consistency in how they said each other's names sometimes. But again, take that out. The only other complaint I might have is there were a couple of the side missions that you can do for bonus points, because it has a similar system to the more modern ones, where you do your missions for your bracers, and you can do secret missions or extra missions, tertiary missions that then get your points. There's some where it arbitrarily locked me out because I continued with the story on forward, and usually I'm pretty good about figuring out what order I need to do things in so I can do every single mission. There were a couple that were so esoteric and didn't make any sense. There were no hints onto how to fix it or make it work, that it just moved the story along and they were locked out. And there were also instances where I had reported stories in, or reported missions in, and if I went to the mission board, it showed that they were still there. Even though I had reported them, I couldn't do them anymore, but they didn't get removed from the list of things to do. So these are little patches and things that I imagine day one or within a few weeks, it'll probably be patched out. Little tiny nitpicks here and there. As far as telling what the story is, I'm not doing that. We would be here for like 2 hours just to describe the story and the background of everything. But this is a great starting point, because you get to know Estelle and you get to know Joshua and you get to know the story of how it starts. And if they end up selling well and they follow the path of the previous ones and to remake the other 2 games, you'll have 3 games total in this Sky trilogy that will then lead into Cold Steel, which then leads into the sort of the Crossbell duology, which those were remastered. But I do think that if they have to look at a project after the Sky trilogy, the duology that they did for the Crossbell games, they didn't get voice acting when they re-released them on modern platforms. Was it last year or the year before? And they are rough. They're rough because there's no English dub and it's a million miles of text. And I basically found myself skipping through the text most of the time because I basically knew the story of those. But those could really use this kind of treatment. But that's something for, a few years down the line. As it stands, this is a really solid entry into the franchise. And this sets up a fair amount. Like, you'll play this, and yes, there's probably, hopefully, fingers crossed, going to be 2nd and 3rd chapters done in this. But if you're really unsure of where to go, this is a great place to start, because it's not as deep when it comes to the battle system and the mechanics of everything as we would get in the later 2, like parts 3 and 4 of Cold Steel, or what's in the into Reverie, where it sort of the mashes them all up, and then the Daybreak stuff. It doesn't. Each game sort of adds more, and then I would say in the Daybreak ones they kind of refined it down to make it a little more playable. This takes all of the things that they learned while doing the Cold Steel and the Crossbell duology, and then the going into Reverie and that. It takes all the things they learned that they then applied into Daybreak and applies this into the remake of the first game, while also retaining all the story and everything that they needed to have from the first game, and adding the battle system from Daybreak into it. So it adds just the right amount. It's not too difficult to get into. There's enough cool subsystems to get you interested, but there's not a bazillion mini games in here that you have to worry about. There's not like fishing and that. There is the cooking, but it's been refined. It's got a little sample of everything. Stuff that gets much more deep in the later games, but this is where it will sort of hook you in. And you get to be introduced to characters that will somewhat recur and fully recur later on, and sets the threads in motion for one of the largest and most interesting, epic JRPG stories ever told, where in a dozen games now or more. And this is where it all started. This is where the Legend of Heroes games diverged from their original style that they had done back in the 80s and 90s into being this epic tale. And it's a really good place to start. I know it's reviews that I've seen already pop up because of the way our timing goes with our releases. Sometimes our reviews will come out after other people's. I've found that they're pretty much spot on. This is, in my head, it's somewhere around a 9 and a 10. We don't usually do like a dedicated numbering system for reviews or like lettering system or anything, but just know that this is a top tier game in its franchise, and it's a very good way if you want to get started and see if you'll like it, and you don't want to jump in partway through like I had to back in the day. This is a great start to the franchise, and it's a good fresh coat of paint on top of what was already a pretty solid base.
The Prime Minister of Sweden visited Washington today, and my tiny little nipples went to France.
Gossip, rumors, panic in the streets. We're lucky.
This Week in Geek News.
Welcome back to thisweekingeek.net. I am Mike the Birdman. He's Alex, the producer. Well, it is now time to talk about the news that has happened around the world. What did I normally call this segment? What the hell? That's gonna drive me crazy.
Well, it's Geek News technically.
Yeah, Geek News technically.
Nerd
News Network. There we go.
Yeah, back when that was for a while, there was like a couple years where that was the whole show.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Wow, guys, got to get a little bit of the ring rust off, which I kind of feel terrible transitioning into the story, but it kind of feels the vibe. You'll follow me. So over the last couple days, some news has been making the rounds on YouTube and in the larger social media space. And that is that Billy Hudson, otherwise known as one of the Game Chasers, has passed away at the age of 44 years old. He died from cancer, unfortunately. And I'm going to read the story from Dextero, and then I will give a little bit of a personal story to share about the Game Chasers. So as it says, Billy Hudson, best known as one of the faces behind the retro gaming YouTube channel The Game Chasers, has died from cancer at 44. Hudson co-founded The Game Chasers, a YouTube channel dedicated to retro game hunting, collecting, and documenting gaming culture. The series gained a dedicated following for its mix of humor, nostalgia, and camaraderie between Hudson and Jay. The news was shared by his longtime friend and fellow creator Jay, who posted on social media that Hudson had, quote, lost his fight with cancer on Thursday, September 18th. The creator asked for privacy as both Hudson and their YouTube community grieve. And just to read you what it says, it is with a heavy heart and tear-filled eyes that I have to make this post, Jay said. This afternoon, Billy lost his fight with cancer. A video is being made this weekend with more details. Please don't ask for additional information. Also, keep in mind that this just happened in the family. YouTube family included is grieving in the process. I know there's a lot of questions. Please let us have a moment and not slam people. We're his friends with questions, me included. We are getting a ton of messages, calls, texts. It's overwhelming. Billy loves each and every one of you and appreciates the love and support you've all given him. Hudson's death comes weeks just after he was diagnosed with a brain tumor in August of 2025, prompting him to make a post on his YouTube channel announcing a hiatus from content. So this news hit me in a very unique way. I was a PR rep for a convention here in Southern Ontario for a couple of years known as Com Bravo. And I remember pitching the Game Chasers, Billy, Jay, Eric, and a few other people, to say, hey, I think it'd be really awesome to have these guys up. It was in 2013 and 2014, I believe they came up. And the convention chair at the time was like, yeah, that sounds like a really cool idea. And they chronicled their quest to Canada, where someone had broken into their car, stole some of their stuff, and it was an adventure, to say the very least. 1 year they came over to my house. They filmed part of an episode at my place. My friend Kevin and Sean and my friend Jamie's place, where they bought a lot of their stuff. I didn't have a lot to offer these guys. I'm like, hey, here's some extra PR crap I got. But what I remember most about that trip is I don't even know how this came up, but we got talking about shadow people and some other shit, and it was just kind of a goofy conversation. But meeting those guys was a real trip and a real treat, just to know they were in my house. And then over the course of their career, I sent them a GoPro camera. I'm like, hey, just give me a review in a couple of weeks. You're the video guy. I don't know shit about shit, so you do it. I got him some microphones because I had a friend of mine at the time who was working at Air Canada, and they just throw out microphones they don't know what to do with. So I tested them. They worked fine. And Billy and Jay, as far as I know, used those lapel and lavalier mics for years. And I was thanked under my old last name of Dodd in almost every single episode since like 2013. It's like, special thanks, Mike Dodd, thisweekingeek.net. And it was pretty cool. And I would always keep in contact with Billy over the years. We'd exchange a few messages. I actually got Billy in contact with Stan Bush for their movie adventures in Game Chasing, which was pretty cool. So like, that's awesome. I love Stan Bush. I love these guys. I'm glad they're working together. And Billy made a movie, Adventures in Game Chasing. I sat down and watched it the other day. And to be completely transparent, I think it's one of the better creator-created movies, like people like James Rolfe, Linkara, all that type of creator thing movies. With Billy, genuine love. It's goofy. It's not meant to be Oscar material, but the fact that I don't know whether Billy went to school for this stuff. Like, he really knew how to light stuff. The audio was good. He knew what he was doing. While the adventure is something clearly out of like fucking Scooby-Doo, it was fun. So I watched that the other morning, and that was kind of nice. Now, the thing that makes this kind of difficult for me is I found out on the bus. Thursday evening, I'm coming back from my radio gig at the radio station. I do some work for CFRU, and I'm on the bus, and I go on the Facebook, and I knew Billy had been in the hospital because there were the updates from his channel saying, hey guys, I've some pretty serious stuff is going on. I figure, you know what? He'll beat it. What's going on? My sister-in-law's a nurse. Maybe I can help you. Maybe I can think of something, right? So I'm on the bus and I read Jay's post, and it was like getting hit by a truck. You don't expect it. And for those of you that don't know, I had another death in the family, also from a brain tumor this summer, my Aunt Melanie. And I don't know, it really hit me because there's something about the Game Chasers I always saw as their content was very fun. It was very real. And one of the things I wrote on a post because Jay was asking people to share posts and memories and pictures. And one of the things I wrote was something along the lines of, the thing I liked most about you guys creating content is it always seemed very genuine and very authentic to the friendship and the brotherhood that you guys had. Because I went back and watched seasons 1 and 2 in memoriam after I watched the movie the other day. And it's true. Like, it's kind of like, Alex, how you and I, like, when we do podcasting, we're friends, but it goes deeper than that. And it wasn't just two people making a YouTube show. It wasn't just two people doing something goofy and stupid. It was something that was genuinely fun. And when the show came out, I remember when they used to work with people like Screw Attack, then they went on to Retroware, and then these guys started getting invited to conventions all over the world. And it was just so cool to see how their careers had come so far from just a couple people wanting to do American Pickers, but with video games. And then they started spreading out to other stuff.
I know you initially, like, and other people I knew had mentioned, what happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I was seeing comments from people that weren't maybe really in the know, like, basically, like, who's that? And I think some of it to take into account is that they're very, very big within the collector community of the millennial age kids, right? I have a feeling that they weren't well known to the younger generation.
Yeah, not as much.
And also not to the older generation, like the Atari guys. You know what I mean? Like there's a whole YouTuber like bubble of Atari and television guys that are in their 50s and older. But for people that got
age and up,
people that are like 35 to 50.
Yeah,
if you were into gaming and YouTube, but also the reality shows of the last 20 years, that's the people that know who they were. And it was kind of surprising. Like, I always felt like the Game Chasers was 5 years too late to get a TV show. You know what I mean? Had they been out 5 years earlier, they would have been like globally known.
I think there was a discussion at some point, but I don't recall that conversation clearly.
I don't know them personally, but I do remember some discussion at one point. I think after they filmed their first season, like, because their show was filmed, for anybody that is listening that doesn't know, to be like a half-hour reality show, sort of like a homemade Storage Wars or American Pickers. That style, that personality driven, but mixed with like a road trip show. So a little, think travel vlog meets American Pickers. That's the best way to describe it, right? And at one point I thought that they were trying to package the season to sell it at, to a channel, maybe as a whole package, so they could put on, channels do that. They'll put a show on at like 2 a.m, right? If it's dirt cheap to get, and then the idea is that's your foot in the door. So at one point, I believe I thought that was their plan, was to package a whole bunch of episodes and get it like a syndicated package for it.
Yeah, like,
they have like, I think they have, when I checked after all this, they have 90 episodes out. I don't know if they had a 91st one planned or anything, but they're not quite at that like 110 where it's like a full syndicated package. But if you have at least 65 episodes, it wouldn't surprise me if they can package it to somebody. But I think at one point, was it on Tubi or one of these things, or were they syndicated on? I think you could purchase on iTunes or something, different things too.
I know you can purchase the seasons, or you could at least purchase seasons 1 through 5 on Blu-ray with extra material.
Yeah,
the movie is streaming for free on Tubi and Amazon.
That's it. The movie is there, but they have enough that if they retooled their package, they could probably get a package deal to put it out on a. Yes, YouTube is one thing, but we also know that discovery on YouTube is not what it used to be.
No.
So if they could get their whole syndicated package on Tubi, that's an extra, bigger thing because it's a smaller pond.
Yeah, like it was weird just going back and rewatching all these things and seeing myself with facial hair. I look terrible. But it was really cool just to go back and just see these guys. And I don't know, like not like I'm not even fronting. Whenever a new Game Chasers episode or Toy Chasers would drop, me and Blair would be like, okay, we gotta find half an hour and let's watch this. And that was the thing. Like the thing that I like about YouTubers like the Game Chasers and Pat the NES Punk, they would have certain little bits of content they would do. Like if there was a new Flea Market Madness, we would like, okay, cool. We are watching Pat today. We're watching Pat and Frank, or we're watching Billy and Jay, and it didn't matter whether it was Toy Chasers or Game Chasers or just some content. We're like, okay, that was. I liked how it felt like appointment viewing, like because I knew these guys. I didn't know them as well as I would have liked, but I would sum up my friendship with Billy as if I needed something, I could call the guy for a favor, and he was always so genuine with people, and that's what I'll remember the most about him. He always made time for you.
And it's not the kind of thing where it's not the time for people online to be discussing, oh, should they continue on without, or you never know how these things are going to go. They have from what I just pulled up on their website, they have 90 episodes out. If you want to check it out, it's worth, going through and highlighting and finding some of that stuff, because it's, at the very least, even if you're not into retro gaming, there's enough entertainment value there without it being like over the top silly or it's nothing clickbaity about what they did. It's just sort of, slice of life stuff that is formatted like a traditional television show. Like they were doing that at a time when YouTube people really weren't doing that.
No,
like it's formatted to fit in basically for the most part to fit within a half an hour time slot.
Yeah, like it was a good time, honestly. If you want to help anybody out, going back and streaming old bits of content will probably help Billy's wife and family in the future. We don't know what's going to happen. I know Jay said something's being worked on. It hasn't dropped as of this recording. So when it comes up, I'm sure everybody will watch. I'm glad to see a lot of tributes pour in from like Happy Console Gamer did something, Gamester81 did something, 8-Bit Eric did something, and there'll be more tributes coming.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of that, and it is, as sad as it is, it's also interesting to see, this happens not all the time, but in the creator community, not just gaming, this happens once or twice a year where somebody, impactful big passes on, and you never know, you don't really know how big a channel is just because you see like X amount of subscribers or X amount of views. You don't really realize how many of those people, like the percentage of them, where they're a very important part of their, their everyday life or watching community. Because like you might have, let's say, 1 million people watch your content, but you don't know that maybe there's like 1,000 people where like that's their favorite thing.
Yeah, like
so
just
you're going to see a lot of that pop up now. You're going to see a lot of tributes pop up. Not everybody gets to, end their content on their own terms. Like Norm has stepped away from Gaming Historian, and people were complaining. It's like, well, do you want him to keep doing it until something happens to him? Like, you don't need that. He went on his own terms. This is abrupt and sudden, which is sad, because I think they were working on, before he got sick, I think they had the next episode already planned or something.
Oh yeah, like Jay and Billy had content filmed kind of like how Pat did, so far out in advance. And that's something too, that's one thing I loved about going back watching seasons 1, 2, 3. You can see how the rise of the video game market changed. Like you can just see, like you'd find $5-10 NES games. You'd find these rare games. Like I remember when they found.
Was it 15 years ago?
2010.
Yeah, 15 years. Yeah, it makes sense. They were there. That is when I was leaving collecting, around 10, 11. That's when I gave you basically all my shit. I was like, you know what? I could make a few $100 selling it, but you were making YouTube content, and I was like, yeah, I'll give it to this guy. But like, the prime time to buy was from 2001 to like 2007. You were able to get so much
argue
stuff.
Maybe 2012. It's when things started to change, when people like the Game Chasers and the Retro Hunters, which is another fantastic channel with Rob, I think his name was, another really good channel. There was another guy who did a dumpster dive. I think it was called Tales with Taylor, another great YouTuber.
08 to 2012 was when the creep started really happening, though.
Yeah, you started getting the resellers. Like if you go back and rewatch Pat's flea market madness, you can start to see when the resellers start to come in, when there people are using eBay and price charting to price stuff, which again, that's your right as a seller,
YouTube,
but don't be a dick. And YouTube.
Basically, the best time that you could to buy this stuff on eBay or at flea markets and sales was like year 2000 to 2005, right before YouTube hit.
Yeah, right when video stores are starting to clear out their old stock.
And specifically when websites switched from trying to grab credit card numbers directly to having PayPal.
Yeah.
Because that made people feel safer buying online.
Mm-hmm.
And also in person, 01, 02, you were able to grab a ton of 70s and 80s tech. And now we're not talking just gaming. It was like computers and like you could get a Commodore 64 for $10. That's like $600 now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it was the right time for that. So like any good idea, their show came from what they were doing in real life the previous 10 years. And then they were at the right time. But like when I say that they should have been out, if it was 5 years earlier, if they had started or not even 5 years, if they started in like 06, if they were like an OG YouTuber, they would have been on cable. They would have transitioned by 2011. They would have been on like
Bike or MTV or something.
Or G4 back in the day. They would have been on something. It's funny how that timing goes, but then they still built that group of core, viewers and casual people that were super happy with the work. And for his work will be there on YouTube forever.
Yeah. I mean, as a closing thought on this, if there were people I would trust to do a video legacy and tribute, it would be Pat, it would be Norm, and probably James. If we could get those people to do a retrospective or like a mini documentary when the grieving has ended, I'd love to hear their thoughts. In fact, Pat posted some of his memories with Billy, how the first time they met, I think it was like MagFest 2013. And I posted, yours was one of the ones I wanted to hear the most because I knew how close they all were. At least that's what it seemed like. And when I had them all at Com Bravo, it was really cool just to see that group. And I don't know, I wish I'd done more in retrospect with those guys. Just, if anything, just to have them on for an interview. I actually went back to my old conversations with Billy. I was like, I was supposed to schedule you for an interview, but I had surgery and I just let this fall by the wayside. But I'm grateful for the times and the entertainment that we all shared. And I can't remember who said it to him. I think it was Melvor or someone had said, he literally said, that's the way game chasing go. And Billy, yeah, that certainly seems like something he'd say, even despite all the dumb shit that happened and was happening to himself. He would have that goofy sense of humor about himself. So rest in peace, Billy. You will never be forgotten. Now to transition out of a fairly down story, we're going to go into something what we would regularly cover here on the Nerd News Network. Let's talk about Batman, because Batman Day just happened the other day. This story comes courtesy of superherohype.com. The Batman 2 has a brand new villain and major plot point revealed. Matt Reeves has revealed new details about The Batman Part 2 and its direction. In a recent discussion, the director revealed the sequel's villain will connect to Bruce Wayne's past, outlined how the story expands on the character beyond the cowl, and addressed speculation about Robin's possible inclusion. Matt Reeves confirmed that The Batman 2 will feature a villain tied directly to Bruce Wayne's history. He explained that, quote, picking the right villain that digs into what that does and that sort of goes into his past and his life. That's what drove us that discussion. I won't tell you where we ended up, but we're super excited about it, and I will say it's never really been done in a movie before. Reeves said he and co-writer Mattson Tomlin studied comics and exchanged ideas. They also drew inspiration from films outside Gotham stories to shape the direction. Reeves emphasized the sequel will expand Bruce Wayne's character arc beyond the Batman-focused lens of the first film. He also noted that, quote, the first story is so much about the Batman, and I always wanted in the movies to make sure that we never lose Rob at the center of those stories. He confirmed Kristen Sophia Falcone will not appear, but praised her work in The Penguin. Reeves also confirmed that the film remains a DC Elseworlds project separated from James Gunn's DCU. He also responded to Gunn's interest in him directing a DCU project by saying, quote, "We haven't talked about anything like that. I want to play out the stories that we began and arrive at the conclusion that I'd hoped we'd arrive at from the beginning. The team will reportedly begin production on the Batman Part 2 in spring 2026. Robert Pattinson has already reviewed the script." I'm kind of wondering who the villain could be.
Time. This is too long for
like 2019. I think Batman came out.
We're talking by the time this comes out, like they're not going to make a third one. I think they've already come to that conclusion. Which
I'd be okay as long as it's a strong duo of movies. I'd be fine with it
because you can't go 12 years to make 3 movies. Not 3 superhero movies, not with the same like. Pattinson will age out of the Batman he's supposed to be unless the movies are taking place in 4 years apart. Time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this one, unless the script is, I think I wouldn't be surprised if the script jumps forward. That this is not going to be. This isn't going to be like a Batman Returns situation where they're like a year apart.
I just don't know who the villain could be. Now, I'll admit my knowledge is really light.
Is there somebody like Joe? What's the name of the guy that actually killed his parents?
Joe Cool Joe Chill, which is just a guy with a gun. I mean, we're already getting the Clayface movie, but that's something else.
Wouldn't that make sense that like he in his head thinks it's some big elaborate crime boss and it's just some schmuck that he finds?
See, I think if they're going to do somebody connected to Bruce Wayne's past, again, if I'm wrong, just fucking email us or whatever. Hush is an idea, but they've already kind of touched upon shit like that. And it's not going to be Ra's al Ghul because we've done that song and dance. That movie has the Riddler.
It won't be anything supernatural. They
want
to keep
weird.
This grounded. So do we go with Harvey Dent? Like
they've already kind of done that too. And that's the thing.
But they haven't done it in this world as like we're not talking Two-Face like just as his friend.
Yeah, because there was, I think it was like on comicbook.com, they did a thing where like Matt Reeves has ruled out these 10 villains or whatever. Okay. You could do Poison Ivy could be redone if you did it in a very specifically grounded way. It's possible. You're not going to do Mr. Freeze because he's a little too techie. Maybe, not likely. Riddler we just did, which would have been my choice if they had to do it again. Hugo Strange, I think, would be really cool, but that's just a crazy psychologist.
We're not
Professor Pig. You could do
Egghead.
Well, there was talk of like Calendar Man. But I think that guy got ruled out pretty quickly.
It's going to be somebody that can be easily adapted into what you would think would be like a David Fincher movie.
Yeah, like I want another detective story. That's why I like someone like Hush. I think
it'll
cool.
be it'll probably be the Riddler again.
But that would suck.
I know,
but you're not wrong.
Like there'll be a part of that in this or to that.
You could do Scarecrow, but they already did that with Cillian Murphy. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Hugo Strange is possible because like I said, he's a guy who deduces who Batman is.
Or is it going to be like Court of Owls type stuff?
That's another possibility too, because that one doesn't get so deep into the supernatural until much later.
I was going to say, like, not race. Is it going to be like? Is it going to be a situation where he finds out growing up that, you could have Harvey Dent in it with him, and maybe Harvey is Two-Face already, or he's crazy, or he's dead, or maybe he's not. Maybe it doesn't have to be Two-Face. He could just be Harvey Dent that dies. They don't have to adapt every person, but reveal that like their families were like, including his father, because his father wasn't the greatest. He wasn't this beacon that he thought he was. With the orphanages and stuff. Mm-hmm. What if they're part of an Illuminati, essentially?
Yeah,
and
Court of Owls would easily work, or the League of Assassins, but minus Ra's al Ghul.
Well, or take away the assassins, and because they want to keep it grounded, and literally you make it that Bruce's past, he's friends with these people, and then you find out like these kids he went to private school with or boarding school with, they're all starting to die. And it turns out that somebody within they're dying off, or maybe they're not dying. Something's happening to them. And then he finds out it's because their families are all these wealthy families connected somehow, and it's because they were pulling the strings.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you keep it connected. And you could have a villain or two in there, but it's got to be somebody that can be a powerless kind of thing.
You know who I'd like to see, but I think they've already ruled him out? I would love to see someone like fucking Deathstroke. I would love to see Joe Manganiello come back for that, but I think that's already been ruled out. That would be fucking cool to me. If I could see him fight another armored assassin like Deathstroke, that would be cool to me. Because he's just a guy with a gun who's really fucking good. We're not going to do Deadshot or Bloodsport because they're in James Gunn's universe, which is fine.
And
Will Smith isn't coming back. That's for fucking sure.
No, I think, I don't know. That also begs the question: do they want somebody to do just a replication of like the whole Zodiac killer thing, which is what they did last time?
Yeah.
Or do they want somebody who is less troubled and more devious?
Yeah, like there are like things they could easily kind of pull from. I mean, this is more of like a JT question for sure, which maybe that's an idea I should bring up to JT. But yeah, like I want it to be successful, but The Batman is the one movie I've gone back to the least outside of The Dark Knight Rises.
It's worth watching. I mean? It's worth watching because you need to watch it as a setup for the Penguin show.
Yeah, which I still need to get around to watch, but that's like what, like 6 episodes, and it's pretty short.
I don't know, is it 6 or 8, something like that?
Yeah, it's something small.
And she just won actor. Like it swept some of the awards it was nominated for because it's weird. I think it was up for. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was like in the miniseries category.
I think so. Yeah.
Even though technically, I think it's the season 2 show now.
No, they said. I think Colin Farrell said there is not going to be a season 2. I think it was like a one and done.
It's one and done, or if they make a new show, it's considered separate, sort of thing.
Right. Yeah. Sort of like how they wanted to do Gotham, but it just never happened.
And like how British shows, you might have a season 2 or 3, but sometimes it's just labeled a different thing.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I hope this happens and we see it before we're all, old and gray. So
I really don't think that the director will do another, like, it'll be a detective thing. And that's the idea behind it, right? It's the detective and then the character study. I don't think it's going to be another serial killer murder mystery thing. I think this one's going to be more of a political thriller investigating. Yeah. I think it's going to be like, there's a whole bunch of horrible shit going on, and he has to start investigating essentially political intrigue,
which would be really cool
within Gotham. Like we're talking not just regular corruption; we're talking like there's a money trail going to something really bad.
Yeah, and that would be fucking sick. That I would dig. So all right, so our next story comes to us courtesy of comingsoon.net. This one kind of surprised me. So the headline reads, classic 80s horror movie getting reboot from SNL star. A classic 80s horror movie is getting rebooted from an unlikely source. According to a new report from Deadline, the classic 80s slasher Sleepaway Camp is getting a remake. The rights to the remake were recently acquired by AFA, the production company of SNL alum Kenan Thompson and Johnny Ryan Jr. Deadline report notes that Robert Hiltzik, who wrote and directed the original movie, will actually return to the remake. Hiltzik will once again write and direct the new project. The plot and contents, which remain completely under wraps as of now. Originally released in 1983, a Sleepaway Camp followed the story of a series of deaths that occurred at a summer camp. The movie is infamous for its twist ending, which reveals the killer is actually demure protagonist Angela. Originally born as Peter, she was then forced to be raised as Angela by her eccentric aunt Martha. After the real Angela, her sister, was killed in a boating accident. Angela then goes on to be a camp counselor herself in later films and racks up quite a body count too. Played by Pamela Springsteen, Bruce Springsteen's daughter. The ending is named as one of the most shocking in history and helped the film develop a massive cult following among queer audiences. Sleepaway Camp as a franchise whole spawned 4 sequels, the last of which was Sleepaway Camp for the Survivor, released in 2012, which is a very complicated mess of a movie. And Felicia Rose, who played Angela in those movies, married the lead singer of the band CKY way back when, and has had cameos in the Terrifier movies. I hope there's no way Felicia is not going to get a cameo in this.
Also, it's not Springsteen's daughter, it's Springsteen's sister.
Sorry.
I was gonna say she'd be like, he would have been like 5 when she was born.
Yeah, sorry about that. I got that confused, but I'm okay with this depending on what they do with it. I love how queer audiences kind of latch on to this, because that's the first time I'd ever seen that in the movie. Hell, it was even parodied in a Robot Chicken at one point.
Yeah, I mean, it's that scene and like Silence of the Lambs, Goodbye Horses are probably the ones that are repeated the most in like memes back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
I feel this could be good, although the biggest surprise it had and thing it had going for it was that. And in the days of the internet, where it's not just word of mouth spreading,
you had to see it for yourself.
It kind of loses its appeal, but also it kind of makes you wonder if they're going to do this, what way are they going to do it, and what kind of stupid backlash is it going to get? Is it like, gonna or like are there going to be people that are like, that's offensive to trans people, or that's not offensive? Like, there's going to be issues, I think, with it. No matter what you do, somebody's going to write stupid shit about it.
I mean, if they have a trans actor playing Angela, cool. Again, but my thing is, I don't want them to do the same gag twice. If you can find a way to update the gag, and cool.
And also, it's not a great idea to do the exact opposite and have it be like a reverse reveal.
Yeah,
where it's like I don't think that the new Sleepaway Camp should have anything to do whatsoever with personal identity.
Yeah,
and as dumb as that might sound, like, well, then why are you doing it? Well, it's kind of the thing. The whole movie existed for that reveal initially, but you can take the concept and do something really, really good with it.
Yeah, because I trust some of these guys to do stuff like this, because we saw how Jordan Peele did it.
Just please don't take the low-hanging fruit and make this like
a shot-for-shot remake.
Don't make it a conversion camp that people murder at because you want to make a political statement. Also, don't take the cheap shot and go, this is a camp for trans kids, and then have the reveal be the murderer's not trans or something.
Yeah,
don't do something hokey and horrible. Just take the core concept, work with it. Set it as a sequel, and by sequel I mean have it in universe that it was known that this happened at this camp, blah 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 blah, and make it like the kids tell the story of Sleepaway Camp like you would tell the story of
like an urban legend sort
of Camp Crystal Lake.
You
make that the urban legend, and for some other reason people start getting murdered. It has nothing to do with it's just. That's what people think. Ooh, look at they're coming
Angela's
to get you.
Back.
Angela's back, and she's coming to get you.
It's funny you mention the reboot thing, because there was something I watched last summer. I had a conversation with a friend of the show, Enrique Couto, and Dave, and we were talking about the Sleepaway Camp movies. And the fourth Slumber Party Massacre is kind of a reboot, but it's kind of not. They reference the events of the driller killer beforehand, right? And they're like, my mother was tortured by this lunatic, and now I'm setting a trap. I'm probably remembering parts of this wrong, but it was really fucking clever. And the big twist in that movie is like the person who rented them the cabin is the driller killer's mother. Is like, you killed my son 20 years ago. Yes, he was a deranged boy, but he didn't deserve what you did to him. and it's this twisted revenge thing. Now, with Sleepaway Camp, you mentioned the conversion gag. That might have flew 10 years ago.
Yeah, I'd say 10 to 15 years ago, that would have been the twist. And we all would have groaned at it, but then gone along with it. And I feel like it's so played out that it's kind of a waste now. That's the problem.
And especially, we're not going to get too deep in the weeds because I don't want to deal with hate mail, and neither do you. I'm just going to say this. With the current political climate, especially with a property like this, it has to be handled so carefully, because not just the writer, the director, and people like Keenan are going to get shit for this. It's going to be a mess depending on how you play this out. Because again, I love the franchise.
If you're going to do a straight remake, or if you're going to go conversion camp, you have to go full trauma all the way beyond over the top. Like, you have to make it so unbelievably ridiculous that it can't be taken as a horror or as anything other than a like blasted parody beyond
scary movie. Basically, it has to be like scary movie.
You have to traumatize it. You know what I mean? You have to do that. You'll have to go like, if you're gonna do like a trans thing, you have to make it where it's so beyond anything, and like pull the pants down and Harry Balls, the penis monster from Terror Firmer, comes out. Like, you remember how they used that penis monster in so many movies afterwards in Trauma, where it's like a giant anaconda snake thing?
Yeah.
You have to make it so ridiculous that you could never ever take it seriously. But if they try to make like a social stance, it won't work. It won't work now.
Yeah, because like, we're at such a pivotal moment in civil rights for this group of people. It's very bad for them right now. And this is one of those franchises that I know a lot of people latch onto, and I don't want them to ruin that. Now, it's different because you and I just watched the trailer for the Anaconda reboot, and that went in a completely different direction than we expected.
They're going Tropic Thunder Goofy.
Yeah. And with Sleepaway Camp, I don't think it lends itself to that, because it always felt like the first Sleepaway Camp is like a Friday the 13th riff, and that's fine because that's what it was meant to be. The Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 leaned into the goofy humor.
Yeah, it was Friday the 13th plus, at the time, genuine shock value.
Yeah. And it was clever for the time because nobody saw it. Like, one of the most memorable moments of Sleepaway Camp, there are two that I remember, and not just the reveal of Angela. It was where the pedophile cook has a pot of boiling water spilled over him. He doesn't die, but he gets taken away and he's horribly burned. And there's this another girl. She gets knifed in the back. And you know that really thin sheet metal material that old showers were kind of made out of if you went to camp? Yeah. Angela stabs her in the back, drags it through the steel and through her back. And it's so brutal because it's almost like you feel the impact of the knife because you know how hard that material had to go through with it. So
it's funny that everybody remembers the Johnny Depp death in Nightmare on Elm Street because it was so bloody. But everybody forgets that I think the creepier, more horrifying death was Kevin Bacon's in Friday the 13th, because doesn't he get the arrow
through the neck,
right with the arrow neck. And it comes from behind him from the brain stem out the neck.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, there were certain special effects in Sleepaway Camp that really hold up, and it can be such a good story because like the girl that played her, Felicia Rose, she had such a vulnerability to her where there were people at the camp genuinely trying to look after her. People were trying to be her friend. Her brother, Ricky, was like, "Hey, Angela, why don't you come play baseball with us?" Or there's the boy who likes Angela at the camp. And instead the one girl says, "Well, Angela doesn't want anything to do with you. Why don't you come over with me?" And he's like, "Well, I tried." And Angela feels betrayed, and obviously the big reveal at the end of the movie. And there's something about that where I hope they don't try to replicate that, because that, I feel, and maybe I'm overpraising this movie, but I feel like that sets a timeless performance. There's so many, despite it being a campy horror movie, pardon the pun, but it's like there's some really genuine moments in that movie. And I don't know. I hope it goes over well because we have seen some big stars do horror really well. Like Jordan Peele's stuff, did not expect to like it as much as I did.
Ethan Hawke going full on in Black Phone now.
Oh, fuck that. I did not expect to be as well.
And coming back for, that's going to, and openly saying that he'll keep doing it if they keep wanting to be in it. He doesn't mind at this point in his career being a horror icon. Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I mean, honestly, if you can do it, because we're going to start to lose people. Like, we lost Tony Todd this year. We're going to lose. Yeah. Robert's going to pass at some point. We're going to lose Kane Hodder, and et cetera, et cetera. Ethan Hawke's got to be, 50 now, in his 50s? Easily. He's at that age where he's not going to get the same roles he used to get. And if he gets to have more fun doing this, like, why do you think, like, Nicolas Cage randomly will do horror movies? Because they're fun. He just doesn't want to get pigeonholed into a franchise. But if it turns out that the franchise is good, some of these actors are willing to do it. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would love to see more fun movies from people we don't expect. Like I said, we're going to start to lose our Roberts, our Kanes. Doug Bradley's getting up there. We're going to lose Pinhead. We lost the guy who played the tall man, Angus Scrimm, like in like the early 2010s, I want to say. Brad Dourif's how old now? He's in like 70 something. Yeah, we're going to lose Chucky at some point. Like, we're going to need a new group of horror icons. And I'll say it right now, Macaulay Culkin needs to just start becoming a horror guy. Honestly, that wouldn't be that bad. He's early 40s. He's like, what, 42 or something like that? I think he's like your age, right? Yeah, pretty close to it. I mean, dude's got 25 years of making horror movies if he wants to. Yeah, I mean, honestly, call up John Carpenter. Let's get something going before he decides he's out of the game. I mean, he's got his game coming out because that's what he wants to make, but I still think there's one good Carpenter movie left in him. I hope so. All right, so our last story this week is going to come courtesy of bloodydisgusting.com. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, A24 reportedly landing film and TV rights to the franchise. While we wait for the Friday the 13th television series Crystal Lake, Deadline reports that A24 is also boarding the iconic Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. Deadline's report confirms a scoop previously reported by the one in Snyder. The rights have been up for auction with multiple interested parties around Hollywood, and the site's sources have indicated A24 is close to winning the film and television rights. Deadline also reports first up will be a series from J.T. Molnar, Ray Lee, and Glenn Powell, though the latter will not star as we previously told you. Apparently the deal, I kind of like him. Like Running Man will be his eyes are too close together and he has chiclet teeth, as my sister-in-law says. he has the attitude of someone who has the charisma he can't cash the check for. I'm curious to see what'll happen in Running Man. I'm optimistic, but he looks like he thinks I deserve to be in this, and the movies he's in don't perform the way he thinks that they don't come off as if they're like, oh great, a Glenn Powell movie. It's like a good movie that happens to have him in it. That's the problem. Quote, apparently the deal hasn't closed yet, but A24 has the pole position. Deadline makes sure to note in tonight's report, quote, another source close to the auction tells us this is all premature, but it's clear the genre label behind Hereditary isn't letting this one go. The outlet also mentions that Roy Lee has expressed interest in making another Texas Chainsaw film for Netflix, which could still happen with A24 boarding the property. The rights to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre are represented by Verve, with other interested parties in recent months, including Jordan Peele, Osgood Perkins, and Taylor Sheridan. It's now been 3 years since Netflix premiered Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a legacy sequel to Tobe Hooper's original horror classic that arrived on February 18th, 2022. I still haven't seen the Netflix one. I hear it's not great. And this is a franchise that I was actually talking about this with Aaron. Sorry if I'm bumping my microphone. Because we were going to do a show on this actually, and this is a little bit of inside baseball, but Aaron's like, I don't like these. I'm thinking, okay, I hear you. So I went back and me and Liam went to go see Texas Chainsaw in theaters last summer because it was like the 50th anniversary or something. And I'm thinking,
this is deeply unpleasant, but it was 1974. What do I expect? So I watched Texas Chainsaw 2 and I had a good time. Enrique was friends with the director of Chainsaw 3. It's okay. I don't like it. Texas Chainsaw 4, Matthew McConaughey, because why not? And I like the ones from the Michael Bay's Platinum Dunes. But the more I watch this franchise, Alex, like, I don't see the appeal behind Bubba, who is Leatherface, right? And the rest of the Sawyer family.
It was, I mean, when it came out, it was a little bit of a...
It was shock.
It was a hodgepodge of taking things that had made the headlines and then making it into one thing, right? Like,
yeah,
it was it Ed Gein or somebody at the time that was just caught? And then there was like,
shit.
And I think there was news stories at the time of people finding out that there was a family that was like feeding people to their hogs, that sort of stuff. You know, basically mix that with, even though it was Texas, mix that with like rural Alabama, Virginia, Appalachia, like stereotypes. And then they were like, let's make a horror movie. When, you know, and also at a time when things were not as bloody or as grisly, and they're like, hey, let's push the envelope. So you end up with something that is very important to 1970s cinema, but doesn't work pretty much outside of the 70s at all.
Yeah, because, like, again, if I'm wrong on this, please call me on it. But I went back and when I was watching this with Liam, most of Texas Chainsaw in 1974, it's most of running around and screaming. It is unpleasant to listen to. And I know that's not the point. But when I look at Leatherface as a villain, he's a tragic villain because he is mentally stunted. I think he has mental disabilities, and he's abused by his brothers and the family to do whatever. It's most often the cook character that pushes him to kill, but he also is pretty fucked up too.
I mean, Devil's Rejects, that's basically the modern day version of that stuff anyway.
Which is a better movie, but also deeply unpleasant. But it's like, I guess it's a guy with a face made of human skin and he has a chainsaw. Cool. And they tried to do something with the property with the video game, which came out a couple years ago, which is now ceased support, no longer receives any updates, and it's a dead game. I don't even know whether the servers are up. And it tried to be Friday the 13th meets Dead by Daylight, and it sucked. I'm sorry. It sucked. And I never got the appeal. Now, having Leatherface in Mortal Kombat X was certainly a choice, but, you know, it's Mortal Kombat. Who gives a shit?
I'd rather be in like, I don't know, a segment of Call of Duty where you like end up in a family of deranged people. Like, it fits better with, like, I don't know, something supernatural. Mix it with Resident Evil or something.
I mean, it works with like Mortal Kombat in a very weird sense.
The only way the franchise can work is if you add supernatural elements, because it's such a basic story.
Well, yeah, because he has no supernatural powers. He's the big, strong guy with a chainsaw.
It's really only going to work if you remake it and you do it where it's either set in the 70s. Because in modern day, you just use your cell phone, it's over. Like, I mean,
don't get trapped in rural Texas. The end. Don't get trapped.
Yeah, like, hey, don't go in there. You know,
hey, monsters, run.
Yeah, it's where it could work is, the problem is that it's Texas. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. like the problem is it's Texas. It's the same thing. Like, if you set it in Appalachia, like, it works better if you set it in like Eastern Europe. But
the Belarus Chainsaw Massacre.
But then at that point, you know what it is? It's just Hostel. And if you try to go back and watch Hostel 1 and 2, it's torture porn, but like, there's nothing to them. There's like, if you try to rewatch it, it's just screaming, and like, it was
blood and violence. That's it.
Hostel, Eli was capitalizing on what happened with Saw, but Saw has that hook. Saw has the puzzles and the mystery. There's nothing to that. Like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre to me is the laziest horror franchise ever.
Yeah,
there's nothing to it.
The only entertaining one is Texas Chainsaw 2 because it went ridiculous.
Well,
and you get Dennis Hopper and
Dennis Hopper
and
is it Bill Moseley? Is he in it?
Yeah. He plays Chop Top, and he's fucking entertaining.
So and almost all of like the media and like memes, and not just memes, like extra media or like gaming references, almost everything comes from the second movie.
Yeah, 100%. Like when I think of memes from Texas Chainsaw, I think of the girl getting grabbed as she runs outside. Texas Chainsaw, I'm the Lord of the Harvest, bring it down, bring it down. Chop Top's weirdness, Stretch working at the radio station, and the chili made from people. And that's it. Like Texas Chainsaw 3, outside of, I think the guy who directed it was Jeff Burr, I want to say. And it's a fine sequel, right? Texas Chainsaw 4, the only thing people remember is it's the weird one with Matthew McConaughey.
It's the same thing with like how Halloween, it's like, oh, you remember that really bad one that happened to have Paul Rudd in it when he looked the same as he does now?
Yeah. It's strange with like horror movies, because like this is probably a topic for a loose cannon. Like, what do you do to make a horror franchise endure? Now, the Texas Chainsaw comics, I understand, are quite interesting because I used to collect some of them. And there was even a Jason versus Leatherface one, which I think Leatherface is going to get his ass kicked. But it's like, I don't know, like these characters, I don't know what you do. And now with modern horror movies, the only icon that come out recently is Art the Clown, and Damien Leone said we're going to get a new Terrifier next year and it's going to be 3 hours. I don't know, man. I like Art the Clown. I don't know if I can put a 3 hours of him ripping people in half and doing other shit. I mean, that's cool, but I don't need a special effects reel to be that long. I also don't need lore that rivals Lord of the Rings. So I don't know. I mean, I think horror's in a very interesting place. I mean, we are living in a golden age of it, really, but I don't know what you do with some of these legacy properties. So that's what I got.
The only thing you can do with Leatherface is put him in movies with other like villains that people know about.
Yeah, like Leatherface versus Chucky. You could realistically do that.
Or not even that. Like, if you want to make it more interesting, you do like a retelling of the original movie, but at the end, like where he's like, you think the person's going to survive, there's going to be one person that leaves, he just fucking kills them, but the movie just doesn't end, and it just has him sitting there like, you know, he's going to process their scan or do whatever, but then like out of like the backpack of the person that he kills, a thing falls out, and you have him pick it up, and you just have him start playing with it, and the camera like pans down to reveal he's playing with the box from Hellraiser.
Okay, that would be cool. The lament configuration falls out.
So that's how it ends. Is he's like, "What's that?" You think it's a Rubik's cube, but then he starts playing with it, and you know he's not mentally capable. He plays with it, and that's how it ends. Like you realize it's like he's gonna either become a Cenobite or they're tying the worlds together somehow.
That would be cool. I would honestly watch that, because I know there was a conversation recently where they were talking with, I think, the director or maybe the woman who played the new Pinhead, if she'd come back, because the Hulu Hellraiser's not that bad. I actually rather enjoyed it. So yeah, that's maybe a conversation I hope they have. I'd like to see that happen, because I don't need a guy running down the laneway with a chainsaw. We've been there. We've seen that gag. Give me something new. So anyway, we're going to take another break here on This Week in Geek before we break into the into the weird news here on thisweekingeek.net. We're going to do one of my reviews here. We'll probably take a look to go to Cybertron today. We're going to take a look at the Age of the Primes 4-pack from our friends over at Hasbro with some redecos and a new mold in there. So we will be back right here on thisweekingeek.net. He's been Alex. I've been Mike. We'll be back, guys, right after this. Hey, guys, this is Mike the Birdman here. I'm here to talk to you about something really neat we got sent over for review from our friends over at Hasbro. I'm going to be talking about the Transformers Age of the Primes 4-pack, which you can find at retail right now in Canada at EB Games. I have seen it in the wild. I think this you can get in the States through Target, I want to say, but I know you can get it over on Hasbro Pulse as well. So what this is usually a pack of recolors and retools. You get Ultra Magnus based upon the Optimus Prime that was released in the deluxe scale last year, a retool of Studio Series 86 Bumblebee done as Bumper, and I think this is the first time that figure has been released properly in like 30 something years from what I've heard. You also get one of the last Headmasters from the Decepticon side known as Horrible, lovely pun name, and a recolor of Motor Master and Optimus Prime from Transformers Animated, recolored into Nemesis Prime. Honestly, in terms of retools and recolors, this is actually kind of cool. The Ultra Magnus looks like the inner white robot. If you had the original G1 Ultra Magnus toy, that's pretty cool. I'm really hoping someone or Hasbro themselves do the Ultra Magnus add-on armor with this as the internal bot. That would be sick. This is the first time since I was a kid I've had a white Optimus Prime. No, wait, that's not true. I had the Transformers Red version a couple years ago, which I really wish that line had continued. I really liked it. But no, it's really cool. You get the Energon Axe, his dual blasters. That's neat. Love it. No notes. Perfect. Bumper. Did not expect this. It's basically a Bumblebee with a retooled head with his blue visor. I think this looks cool. I've always been a fan of this mold. Bumper has shown up a few times in the IDW comics, I want to say. I think he showed up in the Dreamwave. Do not quote me on that one. But it's cool. I think it looks great. Yeah, no notes. Again, looks awesome. Horrible. This is... okay, I love goofy Decepticon crap. I'm especially a big fan of the Headmasters. Do not know why. I think it's cool. He turns into like a mechanical bull. It's goofy, it's stupid, but I love those weird Decepticon teams like Target Masters and Horror Masters and Duocons and all that weird shit. I love it. Horrible was the main reason I wanted this. And it's weirdly enough, this is the figure I think that will be the most desirable out of this, because I think Slither, I can't remember the name of the guy from the last 4-pack, but he was the guy who had like his gat, it's the only way I can really describe it, was in the last pack. And this is the figure I've seen go for a lot on the secondary market. I've seen a lot of people locally on Facebook, they're selling off the rest of the figures from this pack and they're keeping this one. And anybody who does sell this, they're commanding premium prices where you might as well just go out and buy the pack yourself. That's how much he's going for right now. I think it's cool. Amazing facial sculpt on him. I love it. He's got dual blasters. The alt mode looks ridiculous, as you would expect. Amazing. Now, the unexpected coolness out of this is the Nemesis Prime. The animated Optimus Prime is something I got on a whim a couple years ago. And I got Motor Master for like a Christmas gift or something from my friend Jen. And I liked the mold. And when I saw it recolored into the Nemesis Prime colors, I thought, okay, sure. Getting it in hand, he looks amazing in vehicle or in bot mode. Like, seriously, that black and that kind of seafoam green just pop. Like, it looks amazingly cool. If I did have a note on this, I wish he came with like a different weapon than just the axe that Motor Master and Prime got. It would have been cool to give him like a gun or something to show him that he is Nemesis Prime. But ultimately, for what these packs typically are, I think this is all winners. Like, seriously, that Deluxe Optimus Prime, wonderful figure. Studio Series Bumblebee as Bumper, that's awesome. Horrible, it's a Headmaster. What more do you want? Seriously, and Nemesis Prime, Animated Prime, one of the best molds, in my opinion, to come out in the last couple of years. And to see them retool this, or not retool this, to recolor this into Nemesis Prime, it's awesome. Like I said, I don't typically love recolors as much, but this really changed my mind. I really think he's one of the stars of this pack. So seriously, I really think this is cool. I'm excited to see what else they can do, to see what other figures could potentially come in these other 4-packs. I'm hoping we maybe get like Outback from like Braun or something. I think that'd be pretty cool. I'm trying to think of like if there's like any other mini bots they could do, or maybe if there's like any other blank cons I've missed or blank masters. But no, seriously, this was pretty cool. So if you see this Transformers Age of the Primes 4-pack, I really don't think you're going to go wrong with this.
Go crazy?
Don't mind if I do!
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria!
And welcome back to This Week in Geek.net. I'm Mike, he's Alex. It's time to get weird. All right, guys, so let's talk about some of the strangest and most unusual stories we were able to dig up around the internet this week. And our first story comes courtesy of Mashable.com. LimeWire says it has bought Fire Festival and asks obvious question. What could possibly go wrong? That's the question posed by LimeWire, the file sharing service turned NFT marketplace turned file sharing service once again after announcing it has acquired the infamous Fire Festival. According to a press release from LimeWire last week as of this recording, the company has purchased the Fire Festival brand after becoming the winning bid in a competitive bidding process that included actor Ryan Reynolds' creative agency Maximum Effort. Quote, Fire has become a symbol of hype gone wrong, but it also made history, said CEO of LimeWire, Julian, I can't pronounce his last name, Zettemeyer, in the press release. We're not bringing the festival back, we're bringing the brand and meme back to life, this time with real experiences and without the cheese sandwiches. Fire Festival was a 2017 music festival created by Billy McFarland, the founder and CEO of Fire Media, and rapper Ja Rule. The event was supposed to be a high-end experience with tickets priced from $500 to as much as $12,000. However, the Fire Festival quickly went viral as attendees shared their horrific experiences. The event was poorly organized. Many music acts advertised to perform did not show up, and promised gourmet food turned out to be cheese sandwiches. Fire Festival was a failure, but somehow, thanks to the internet, succeeded as a meme, and LimeWire appears to be leaning in on that. Quote, we're not here to repeat the mistakes, we're here to own the meme and to do it right, said LimeWire COO Marcus Feistel in a release. Fire has become a symbol of everything that can go wrong. Now it is our chance to show what happens when you pair cultural relevance with real execution. LimeWire says it plans on creating real-life experiences for the, quote, re-envisioned for Fire that are, quote, bold, self-aware, impossible to ignore under the Fire Festival name. The company has even set up a website, firefestival.link, where those who are interested can join a wait list for more information. It seems fitting that LimeWire acquired Fire Festival as the brand went through a similar, quote, reimagining. Founded in 2000, LimeWire is best known for its peer-to-peer file sharing service like Napster before shutting down in 2010 following court battles with the Recording Industry Association of America. LimeWire brand was then revived in 2022 as an NFT marketplace by a pair of Austrian entrepreneurs without any ties to the original service. As a publication, LimeWire's website shows the company is looking to pivot back to file sharing service. The site also advertises a cryptocurrency token connected to the service as well. Congrats to LimeWire on their winning bid for Fire Festival. I look forward to attending their first event, which I will be bringing my own pallet of water, Ryan Reynolds said in a statement included in the LimeWire press release. Seems like I think they paid 200 and something thousand for the branding for this, according to eBay. Why? Now, it's weird. I did try to get a Fire Festival hat on eBay a couple years ago because they were liquidating to get all their assets, right? And I think you could get a hat for like $50, and it would have been just a weird little piece of meme history, right? But this is weird because I don't get what they're going to do. I mean, maybe if they did stuff in conjunction with like maybe South by Southwest packs, like it has to be nerd pop culture. It has to be, but it has to be the right sort of thing. So if you had like a Fire Festival pop-up event at like I said, events like South by Southwest, Coachella, and I don't know, maybe Fire Festival sponsors part of like one of the big city marathons or something. Maybe you've got something there, but I don't see how that's worth $200,000. I don't. So this is weird at best. Ryan Reynolds, I guaranteed would have done something weird with it. So that's cool, I guess, sure. But it's not my bag. But I would much rather have a LimeWire or a fucking Live Wire hat. That'd be kind of cool. Because that was my preferred. It was LimeWire and Kazaa were my favorite peer-to-peers. But again, just such a bizarre pairing that I really don't get what the objective is here. Like, even if you went with San Diego Comic-Con, that's not cheap to buy into, and they're not buying out Hall H to run a fucking meme thing.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're not going to be able to, I don't know how into certain weird meme cultures you're into, Alex, but it's not like they're going to run their own version of DashCon where they're just going to run something just to get some headlines, because that can be more damaging to the brand. To like, hey, we rented a ball pit, Fire Fit, courtesy of DashCon. Like, they're not going to, like, what do you do with this? Like, you can't just replay the greatest hits, right? Because Billy McFarland, I think, is still in jail. And I think he's already, like, he got in shit for something. I'm not 100% sure on that. But everybody associated with Fire Festival has went down a very dark path, and it hasn't worked out too fucking good for them. So again, I don't see where this goes. I don't see how this is worth $250,000. So good luck, I guess. Yeah, fucking weirdos. On to my next story. Like I said, I don't know what you do with it. This next story comes courtesy of unexplained-mysteries.com. Real life Conjuring house is up for auction this Halloween. How perfect. The infamous farmhouse that the activity that occurred there inspired the Conjuring movie franchise. For the third time since 2019, the remote Rhode Island farmhouse, which was the scene of a notorious real-life haunting that plagued the Parent family for years, is about to go up for sale. The story goes that a witch had cursed the property, dooming anyone who'd lived there. The house has changed hands several times over the years, with the Heinzen family buying it in 2019. Then, just 2 years later, a developer taking over the intention of opening it to the public. Now it is set to be sold yet again at an auction that will take place on October 31st. This antique farmhouse has become famous for historical paranormal sightings and activity, the listing states. One interesting element of the sale is that this is whether or not the building's haunted reputation will be seen as a good or bad thing by potential buyers. On one hand, anyone interested in the paranormal or using the farmhouse for paranormal events and meetups will certainly find it a positive point, whereas anyone simply looking for somewhere to live who doesn't want people coming to look at the home, to come look at the house, will probably consider its fame a negative factor. One thing for sure is that whoever does buy it will likely be forking out quite a sum, as the last time it changed hands, it sold for a whopping $1.5 million. I was actually watching a video on YouTube about this that showed the interior, and they were going to renovate this farmhouse. They're going to do some to it to bring it more up into modern standards. On one hand, this would be interesting if it went to a paranormal person. Like, I know comedian Matt Rife just bought the Warrens paranormal museum with the real life Annabelle doll and everything. And I know one of the caretakers of the Annabelle doll passed away this summer under strange circumstances. But if you get someone like,
because that's what we need.
Yeah, but you don't need someone like the Ghost Adventures guy like Zach Baggins buying this place up, because then it turns into a circus and whatever. But on the other hand, if you're just looking for a place to live, and let's just, for sake of argument, let's say this place is haunted to high hell, I don't want to deal with a witch while I'm making spaghetti dinner or whatever, or causing horrible nightmares or Christ knows what else.
This is a spaghetti witch that makes it better.
Yeah, exactly. If that's her curse, then cool. It's just too garlicky, in which case it'll at least keep away vampires. It's interesting. I mean, how some of these paranormal houses will go on the market and whatnot, and sometimes people report stuff still happening afterwards. But the fact for it to change hands after 2 years, not gonna lie, that's a little sus. But at the same time, maybe the markets just changed. Maybe they knew the Conjuring movie was coming out, or maybe again they saw that comedian Matt Rife just buy the Warrens' old place, and that was quite a paranormal collection to pick up for a relatively cheap price, considering. So I don't know, because the Warrens are controversial figures, and that's, I think, kind of putting it lightly. As much as people like Ed and Lorraine Warren, as portrayed by Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson, in real life, they had some people who didn't like them very much. And if there are tons of documentaries on YouTube you can watch, and I just saw The Conjuring Last Rites was supposedly based on the one case they couldn't solve. The real story behind that's a lot less cool. And obviously played up for drama. And again, those movies live and die on the vine by having Vera and Patrick associated, so much so that HBO Max has now said, hey, we want a Conjuring TV series. Okay, cool, but how are you not just going to turn in the Supernatural with big movie stars, right? So with this property, whoever buys it, I can't imagine that many people coming by the property, because I know with the Conjuring, with the Warrens' Supernatural Library thing, right? Eventually it had to get closed down because the county is like, you're not licensed for this. This is a safety issue. We can't have people just coming and going all the time. And eventually they had to put up like no trespassing signs. And during COVID, it was closed off to the public before they started traveling with the Annabelle doll, which supposedly Ed and Lorraine was like, could you please not? So, making the creepy doll angry, what you want to believe or not, I don't know. There's an interesting story behind the Annabelle doll, to say the very least. But I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't buy a spooky haunted house that has a history of something this severe. If a ghost just knocks on the walls and opens a door, sure. But creepy nightmare witch, I can do without that. And especially at $1.5 million in this market, is the witch?
Yeah.
I think you're paying for the witch. I think you're paying maybe the nice property, but still, you're paying for an element you can't see. Like, does the rich pay rent? Like, it's kind of, I don't know. Like I said, I'm kind of on your kind of wavelength with like this kind of a story, because you're like, you're buying the property for the history that may or may not be real. And if it is real, why would you invite that into your life and pay over $1 million for it? And if it's not, you've just invited every fucking looky-loo in the neighborhood who wants to come onto your property, right? Because you know you're going to get people asking, hey, can I investigate your house? Sure. And
yeah, I mean, and it's fun for a little bit until that becomes your everyday life.
Yeah. And like, what do you do? Like, because one of the aspects of paranormal investigation, like when I used to do it, is you don't charge for it, right? Like if you have to travel somewhere, yeah, like, hey, I'm coming from out of the city. Could you cover my gas? Could you, I don't know, buy me McDonald's or something? Sure, right? But to ask someone to cover across state lines, to come over with a full video team, I mean, it's different if it's like Discovery Channel asking to use your house. But if it's just ordinary people on like YouTube and stuff like that must get exhausting. And
they have to plan it around another trip they're already doing.
True. And think about this, because you're more business minded than me. What if Mr. YouTuber falls down the stairs? Is that covered under insurance?
Nope.
Yeah, because like, again, it's like, is your house a home or is it an entertainment venue? Did you sign anything? And again, I know I'm getting really deep into the weeds here on this, but that's something to really kind of think about. Because again, if you do something like this, did you just open yourself up to a load of liability because you wanted to be cool? And sure, you bought the house for $1 million, but if so-and-so falls down the stairs and breaks their leg and can't walk properly again, that $1 million doesn't mean fuck all. You're going to get sued for a lot more than that because you I don't know. It's stupid. I'm annoyed. Moving on. Last story this week. This comes from you. I haven't even looked at it yet, so I'm terrified. Let's see.
Wasn't a whole lot of weird outside of political stuff, which I didn't want to cover.
Yeah, exactly. I am not jumping into that fire today. I do that in my professional life. I'm good. This story comes courtesy of the BBC. Okay, it can't be that bad. Naked and high flight attendant, quote, let himself down. A British Airways flight attendant who was found naked and high on drugs in a plane toilet during a transatlantic flight was told by the judge, quote, he let himself down. Hayden Pentecost, 41, was given a 6 months prison sentence, suspended for a year. Judge Hannah Duncan told him, you don't need to tell me just how serious this offense was. It would have been frightening for any passengers to see you in that position. You really let yourself down. He was ordered to complete 80 hours of unpaid work and pay £150 in costs after admitting after performing an aviation function while impaired on drugs. Isleworth Crown Court heard how Pentecost was due to work on the flight from San Francisco to London Heathrow in May. Before the journey, he told colleagues he was suffering stomach cramps, but insisted he was fit for duty. Cabin manager co-workers found him at the bottom of the stairs, quote, disheveled, pale, sweaty, and erratic. He locked himself in a bathroom where he emerged. He was completely naked and oblivious to the fact that he had no clothes on. Prosecution barrister Natasha Lake said a colleague struggled to make sense of what he was saying before addressing him and moving him to a free seat. The captain was alerted and after speaking with Pentecost, called for medical professionals on board. He was found to have dilated pupils, was unable to answer what year it was or who the U.S. president was, and drank 15 to 20 bottles of water during the flight, the court was told. His behavior was, quote, a huge distraction for the captain and crew, though no passengers were aware of his condition. The flight landed at Heathrow, where paramedics met the aircraft and took Pentecost to Hillington Hospital. A blood sample was later showed he had methamphetamine and amphetamine in his system, was later dismissed from his job. Miss Lake said the offense carried a maximum penalty of 2 years imprisonment, but there were no sentencing guidelines to assist because the case was quite unique. She told the court that Pentecost had failed to complete the pre-flight safety checks and that his colleagues had to manage the 10.5-hour-long flight without his assistance. John Harrison, defending, said Pentecost lost the career he, quote, very much valued and came before the court, a man without the profession that he sought to relapse after that he went to develop after COVID. The judge said there was a great deal of mitigation in his case, including his previous good character and immediately guilty plea that his behavior had not been aggressive or confrontational. She reduced his sentence from 12 months to 9 due to mitigation, and then 6 months for his early plea before suspending it for 12 months. British Airways has been approached for comment, and that's where the story ends. You'd be surprised how often
it sounds like an Always Sunny Philadelphia sort of thing.
Yeah.
Hey, let's become flight attendants and then do a lot of meth.
I mean, I know some people who work in the airline industry, and I know those transatlantic flights can be a thing, like really long, really boring, but sometimes they're really exciting too.
But people will I can understand taking a little caffeine, obviously caffeine, but there are maybe prescriptions you could have that would have an amphetamine in it, but not meth. But
yeah.
And not just like caffeine pills, obviously, gas station caffeine pills are probably going to have crazy shit in it, but like there are prescriptions you could take, but not with meth. And it sounds like this probably would have happened if the person happened to have a prescription and was taking too many anyway. Mm-hmm. No, this sounds like Mofo said he had a tummy ache, but in reality, he was rolling on meth.
Yeah.
and then showed up for work and probably drank some coffee. And then just had a full crash out, like a full blown, like meth paranoia attack.
Yeah, I mean, I know that kind of job can be incredibly stressful, and sometimes it leads to a certain type of person following in that career. And I'm not painting the entire profession with a brush, but I get it. I do. But
well, it's high stress. And back in the day when it was, quote unquote, only women that were, flight attendants back in the day, where you would have replaced meth and amphetamines overdoses with women that were having issues like with diet pills. You'd have stewardesses pass out from taking too many diet pills and stuff. So every every job, every field has their issues. It's just, I can see why this would have happened based on the fact that, like, there are people that, if you're a flight attendant, you might be a flight attendant. I know they do it in shifts, right? For long flights.
Yeah.
But, like, think about it. There are some flights that are like 23 hours nonstop.
Oh, yeah.
And when you're doing that, you're doing it in 8 to 12 hour shifts, right? As an attendant. So you're probably trying to sleep. There are cases where you might, if you're short staffed, some of these guys might have just been like, fuck it, I'm going to take a bunch of happy pills and stay
Just
up
keep going.
For I'll stay up for 30 hours and then rest once we get to our destination.
Yeah, because like I've heard stories of people that I know personally saying, yeah, like I'm a long distance truck driver and people use that to keep awake.
Buddy, the truck stop pills, which have whatever in it. When I worked for that company that made the software for truck drivers, like they're telling me like, yeah, you know, legally they have to take a break, and then they don't because the companies back and then, you know, they were like, don't log those hours, but we need you to do it anyway. That sort of shit. You know, the stuff that led to like Tracy Morgan getting hit by that Walmart driver.
Yeah.
Where they're like, hasn't slept in 2 days. Well, yeah, because those trucking companies, they'll feed you a whole bunch of pills. Not anymore, you know, because now they're all tracked with what they do. Where they track the motion of the vehicle, not just the hours logged, right? But like that was a thing. Like, ask any long haul driver, man. Like, their daily life is a form, not meth, but like it's amphetamines and caffeine. That's what they do to do their long, like, not a short haul driver, like the ones that drive from, like, you know, they're picking up some shit at Ottawa and they're driving down to Mexico. Those dudes. Yes, they legally have to take their 8-hour break and they can only, you know, stop the vehicle within a certain time. But back in the day, they would be rolling on like 30 hours straight of driving.
Yeah. And I knew a guy I went to high school with, and I'm like, dude, how do you do it? He's like, don't ask. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, no, it's literally meth. Like, or, you know, or a legal form of it. You know, you get like a regular amphetamine, or you find, or those dudes, they'll find things like, hey, if I take this over the counter med with this over the counter med, the reaction is an amphetamine. You get that sort of stuff happening. So I thought that's what the story was going to be, but it turns out it's more like just a meth thing.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I hope the guy gets the help that he needs. I'm good on him for saying, hey, I messed up. I plead guilty.
No, we didn't get to see his teeth either, but you wouldn't be a flight attendant if you had meth rot already going on. But if you look at his picture, you know, when he's coming out of the court case, he's not been a regular user for a long time. You can tell. So hopefully they nip this in the bud before it gets too bad.
Yeah, exactly. I hope this guy's able to make a full recovery in whatever career he chooses.
You imagine you're on a flight, you're already nervous on a flight, and your flight attendant's just not coming, and you go looking for him, and he's just curled up and like sweating and naked. You're like, oh no!
Like, dude, are you good? No.
And he'd be like, my first reaction would not have been meth or drugs. It would have been, which in-flight meal did you eat? Like, because I am worried about the shellfish. Like, that's
well, yeah, and that's not unreasonable too. Be like, what did you eat?
Yeah, that in my innocent brain, my first thought is, oh no, did he have an allergic reaction to some of the food?
Yeah, because like you're not going to automatically think drugs or whatever. It's just,
and then my second reaction is, you know, okay, maybe it's meth.
Yeah, just yikes. So yeah, that's all we got this week for the weird news here on This Week in Geek. .net. We're going to hear one more review from me. I'm actually going to be taking a look at a movie I got from our friends over at Warner Brothers Home Entertainment. We're going to be looking at the original Conjuring, released back in 2013 on 4K. We'll be back, guys, right after this, only on thisweekingeek.net. Hey guys, this is Mike the Birdman here, and once again, I'm here with a review from our friends from Warner Brothers Home Entertainment. I'm going to be talking about the 4K Ultra HD and a digital code of the original Conjuring movie. This is the movie that started the franchise that follows Lorraine and Ed Warren, a pair of demonologists who are out there helping everyday people solve problems against the supernatural. And this is probably one of their most famous cases, but this is the movie that launched a franchise and will soon launch a television series, which I'm not entirely sure how I feel about this. I mean, if Patrick and Vera come back, cool. Are they going to commit to a television schedule? I don't know. I'm not their agents, but that would be pretty cool, especially if they did it on HBO Max. So anyway, what do I think about this? Well, if you've seen the original 2013 movie, this is outstanding. It's probably one of the scariest movies, and I could say that as a horror movie aficionado. And I love supernatural. I'm a big ghost hunting person. I've done it in my personal and professional life. And this was just, it's a wonderfully atmospheric movie. Do not want to spoil it. But if you really want to set yourself up for success in the atmosphere of something like this, watch this at home, alone in the dark, with the sound cranked. You're going to have a fantastic time with this. Now, to talk about the 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray itself, it looks and sounds fantastic. From what I understand, I don't have the original 2013 Blu-ray anymore, but from what I've been able to read, they brought over the original audio into this 4K release. That's fine. I never found any real problems with it in the first place. So, totally cool. Totally fine with it. And in terms of picture quality, I'm watching this on an Xbox Series X and a Amazon Fire TV. And I do have 120 hertz on mine. I think it looks really good, personally. Blacks are nice and rich and deep. Colors seem appropriate. Nothing seems overly blown out. I don't recall a lot of noise or anything in it. So, again, I think it looks fine, but I am also not a digital expert in that regard. Now, in terms of special features, all the legacy stuff has been brought over. And there are 2 new special features that kind of look back at the franchise and whatever. Basically, typical stuff you'd see in like an EPK. I would say nothing is particularly deep, but also not bad either. It kind of does give you insight into the franchise, into the characters, and what happened on that investigation with the Warrens. Overall, it's entertaining. But don't go into this expecting a History Channel episode on Ed and Lorraine Warren. That's not what this is. Overall, considering when this was released, this is a fantastic addition to give someone, since we're so close to Halloween and the spooky season. Honestly, this is an easy buy. If they ever do a complete Conjuring series box set, I hope we get an enhanced version of this at some point, but overall, no notes. This is pretty awesome. You should pick this up today. Once again, that was my review of The Conjuring on 4K Ultra HD. A review copy was provided to us from Warner Brothers Home Entertainment.
Could we brick you into the wall so we don't have to smell you when we come in to watch TV?
Welcome back to thisweekingeek.net. You guys got a supersized show today. All things considered, we had a lot to talk about, some pretty heavy stuff on the beginning of the show. So, like I said, rest in peace, Billy Hudson from the Game Chasers. That's the way game chasing go, and I'm glad your content will live on forever. And best wishes to your family in this most troubling time. Beyond that, though, we had a pretty good show. We had a very long discussion. I'm surprised how in the weeds we got with certain pieces. And I guess just to kind of give you guys kind of a programming update. So me and Alex, we're hopefully going to be doing a lot of regular shows between now and the end of the year. That is the goal. We feel healthy. We feel good.
Knock on wood. Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. Knock on wood for luck. I have pre-recorded a bunch of stuff. We do have a lot of stuff for Halloween. Me and the boys are working on the Resident Evil franchise. As of right now, we've got the first 3 done. We've got stuff recorded, or we're planning on doing the last 3 Resident Evil movies. Alex pitched me a very interesting idea for Halloween, which I think looks ridiculously funny. So we'll probably end up doing that. I have been in contact with Enrique Couto and James Rolfe about our annual Halloween special. We did change up the subject because honestly, scheduling kind of got in the way, but I think this one will be a little bit more fun because I want to hear about what 2 people who love horror, what are their Halloweens like? And we're going to be sharing Halloween memories, what makes it special to us and just kind of a celebration of all things spooky. So it'll be nice to hear from Hen and James about what they were like, because I know these guys have been around the horror community for as long as they can remember. In fact, Enrique just got inducted into the Horror Host Hall of Fame just a little while ago, and James literally just as of this recording, he just released his first novella about a horror themed, a bunch of teenagers go to an abandoned amusement park. Hilarity ensues. So yeah, it's just, I think it should be a fairly fun one. I know we've got some other stuff kind of planned out. I know we were doing something about John Carpenter at some point. I know me, Alex, and Aaron were in the middle of doing probably some evergreen content, so we have stuff ready for Christmas break. I know our Lord of the Rings thing got pushed. We're going to record those between now and Christmas, so you guys have something over the Christmas holidays between me, Ken, Adam, and Dave. And yeah, we've just got a lot of cool stuff that we're pre-recording, but there'll always be something, as Alex said, week to week. There's always something there. I know me and JT, he had some problems with his microphone. So it took us all summer to get that figured out, but now he needs a new pair of headphones. I found some in the back room of my place, so I'm going to send him a bunch of headphones and here's 3 pairs. Something is bound to work, please. Because Marvel Zombies comes out on Wednesday, which I'm actually really looking forward to. Please don't suck. And I know me and Ken wanted to do some prototype stuff after Tokyo Game Show. Which I think is this week, right? It's on Thursday.
The idea is let's do a roundup, catching up on the game press stuff that's happened since Summer Game Fest and Midsummer, and give us an idea of what things are going to be like going into the fall and winter season, and then we might have a discussion in between on something, but it'll probably be the last of the prototypes until we do our end of year discussion stuff.
I kind of want to talk about Mortal Kombat as a franchise, but I think I'm the only one that knows a lot of it.
I mean, I know the movies, I know the games through Ultimate 3, and then beyond that, it's not what I know a lot about.
Yeah, I know. Actually, I guess a preview for next year. Literally the day the movie got pushed, we recorded Mortal Kombat 1, Mortal Kombat 2, and Mortal Kombat 2021. So that's pre-recorded for next year. Which again, just kind of annoyed me because we're like, really? I was looking forward to that next month. You asshole. But you know what? If taking it back after the test screenings to do some additional stuff, cool. You know what? If it's going to make a better movie, if you are put that much trust that it's going to do well on Memorial Day weekend, then that's a pretty good sign to me. You're not just putting it in the October, if it does well, it does well. No, you're putting it against the Super Mario movie and something else pretty big. Grogu and the Mandalorian just got announced today for that weekend. Sus, but we'll see what happens, so maybe it'll be fun.
I'm willing to bet that Grogu gets moved.
Yeah, honestly, I think they should put that first weekend of July, personally, but I guess because of May, it's the whole Star Wars thing.
I'm actually thinking they end up moving it up to Easter.
I could see, then it'd be competing against Mario, would it not?
What else does Warner have? Or sorry, to compete against Disney there, because it all depends on those 2 companies basically.
Yeah, because, I don't know.
We don't know what Paramount is going to be doing now that they're with the new owners, how they're going to shift things around. Universal has Mario.
Yeah,
that's obviously their big one for that, probably that quarter. Sony
is Avengers next year? Or is it Spider-Man next year?
I will check right now while we're talking, because the reason I bring that up is it's basically, we don't know what Warner is in talks to be purchased by Netflix, and as of this recording, and a few other companies, and even Skydance was looking. It's I don't think the FC, I don't think the Americans are going to allow a monopolization of Paramount being bought by Skydance and then also buying Warner. I just doubt that that's going to happen, but that is the question. Like, where does Disney want to put it? The only real competition they're going to have is maybe something big from Warner. So, like, if I look right now at 2026, it's hard to believe. It still feels like the future.
It really does.
Let me see. Movie release schedule. We'll see list of films for that year. So if we could look, where would we think? Maybe March, April is what I was saying, right? Right now, we've got, there's a Paramount movie from Trey Parker coming out. Who knows what it's going to be? But right now, 20th Century Studios, which is, Marvel, Disney, whatever. They have Dog Stars coming, which is a Ridley Scott movie, but Ridley Scott's movies have been sucky for the last 15 years. So there's that at the end of March. And then for what we have confirmed for April so far is Mario is April 3rd. Ready or Not 2 is the 10th, and that's Searchlight. The Warner Brothers Mummy movie.
Okay, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Neither did I, but it's a Blumhouse production with New Line.
So it should be okay.
Yeah, and that's on the 17th. And then Lionsgate has something, but it's not a big deal. And then in May, we've got Mortal Kombat 2 on the 15th.
Yep.
And Mandalorian and Grogu is the 22nd. So, if they're going to move it earlier, let me see what comes out after that. Masters of the Universe on June 5th. Spielberg has something on the 12th. Scary Movie on the 12th. Toy Story 5 on the 19th and Supergirl on the 26th. There's going to be stuff that fills in the gaps.
Mm-hmm.
But if they were going to go, I don't know, man. Yeah, they might keep it there. I think it's really going to depend on, because Warner, that's a week gap between Mortal Kombat. There's not as much of an overlap, but May is pretty empty right now. There's going to be one or two other pictures, probably big ones that come then. If anything remotely that could overlap with it comes out, like if there's a sci-fi or fantasy big thing from Warner, or even Sony, if they put something out, they won't want to keep Mandalorian there on the 22nd. For us, it's May 2-4 weekend. They might do it here. It's happened before too, where, was it a Marvel movie? I think it was Marvel, where we got the movie 5 days before the Americans did.
Was it Thunderbolts?
It was something. It was a summer movie.
Yeah.
There was one or two of them. And I believe it was, I think it was Warner, and I think it was Marvel specifically, where the Canadian release date, and Ken will probably know,
yeah,
but the Canadian release date, we watched it on a Wednesday, and then it didn't premiere, not that Friday, it was the next Friday in the States. And weirdly, it wasn't like the rest of the world got it before America. We were the only country that did, and I don't know why, because it wasn't a holiday weekend for us. So that, I remember being why do we have this first? And I remember whatever it was we went and saw, it was in the last couple of years it happened. So
yeah,
they can shift things around. But yeah, didn't mean to derail it, but there's not, that's also kind of depressing. That this is what our blockbuster that we know about is coming for, May and June, is really MK. I think they moved MK there because they had nothing. Animal Friends is 2 weeks earlier from them, but is anybody going to watch that? Does anybody know what that is?
Nope.
Ryan Reynolds, Vince Vaughn. It's going to be a cartoon probably, right? And Devil Wears Prada 2 from 20th Century. May is looking empty. Same, except for Grogu and Mortal Kombat. June is Masters of the Universe, which is probably going to be terrible, but could be awesome. It's probably going to be terrible. A Steven Spielberg film that we don't know what it is yet. It just says Untitled.
Mm-hmm.
Scary Movie 6, which is going to have its smaller audience. Toy Story 5, which will be the real test. If Toy Story 5 doesn't hit expectations, Disney's in real trouble. Because they've been having some real trouble with already. But Toy Story is the can't miss, it's the guaranteed hit usually, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Supergirl on the 26th, and then what we have so far for July is Minions 3. That'll make a buttload of money because it's Minions.
Yeah.
I thought I saw a Tommy Wiseau movie. It's not Tommy Wiseau, thank God. Called Shiver. There's the Moana live action movie, which nobody asked for or wants.
I'm curious, but
the Odyssey,
okay.
the Christopher Nolan Odyssey movie.
Okay,
that'll be
interesting.
It'll be probably event viewing. It's the first movie ever filmed entirely in IMAX, entirely, not in IMAX formatted for IMAX, in actual IMAX cameras, like with their film. Because there is a distinction for anybody listening. Almost all the movies you see in IMAX are either reformatted for IMAX, they call it, or they'll say filmed for IMAX, which is they have a minimum ratio, it has to be this type of camera that's approved, and it has to be this type of film. This, though, is filmed in IMAX, meaning IMAX cameras, IMAX films, everything from start to finish, the whole tool chain, which has never, ever been done. So it'll be an interesting thing to see if you can especially watch it in a proper IMAX. Evil Dead Burn. Is that really an Evil Dead movie?
Not that I've heard of, but...
It is a third standalone entry after Evil Dead Rise 2023. What the fuck? Okay. And then Spider-Man Brand New Day. So that's going to be an interesting July. And then, August, right now, they have only got an Insidious sequel because there's always something like that. Coyote versus Acme, wasn't that the one that was canceled and then brought back?
Yep, and now it's next August or something like that.
Yeah. And then we've got, for September, Clayface is in September. It's not even a summer movie.
Yeah.
So Resident Evil and that sort of stuff. So there's a little bit of everything, but if you notice, all this hubbub with movie studios shuffling around, the bankruptcy of Paramount and everything, we're having about 4 or 5 months where we don't really know what's coming and what's good. So, long story short, there's going to be more shifting around. And things that you might have thought would have been a medium budget movie with a small audience is maybe going to have to be put into whenever they have large holiday weekends that you would never think of normally.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. I would not think of Mortal Kombat as something you open your summer movies with.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens with that.
Yeah, man.
So
if it's good, it'll be great. But if it's not, who knows, man?
Yeah. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for us here at This Week in Geek. Like I said, we'll have more content coming out on the site very soon this week. We'll always have Earth versus Soup. I'm sure I probably have a loose cannon in there from me and the boys. And just lots of good stuff.
As of this week, specifically for this week's programming, we have a loose cannon. It's the Weird Al discussion you guys had.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So that was when... marinating, but
it's been cooking.
It's good.
It's been cooking. We've got that, and as far as Earth versus Soup, we also have Earth versus Soup episodes 275, Invisible Agent from 1942, ready to go.
Awesome. All right, cool. So me and Alex will be back next week, bearing any major disasters, and looking forward to hearing from everybody. So once again, if you want to get in contact with us, make sure you're checking our social medias. If you look on some of the Loose Cannon posts, you'll be able to see where me and Dave have our letterboxes along with Ken. You can always find us on Blue Sky. We are always around, looking forward to chat with you. And good times had by all. So anyway, guys, until next time, we have been
Alex, the producer.
I've been Mike the Birdman, saying be excellent to each other, especially in these troubled times. I will catch you guys real soon, right here on thisweekingeek.net.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at thisweekingeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.